Cash and the ticket is yours. Cash and the ticket is yours. Yo. Cash and the ticket is yours. 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 Yours.
Inside here, you know, you You get an insight and you know something, you know? But you don't want to say it out loud because you're kind of afraid that it's not going to be really true and it'll spoil the whole thing for you, you know? But when somebody makes you say it, then, and it's true, then it just makes it more beautiful of a thing.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the CGL GOATS Tournament 2023. I'm so excited to be here. This is one of the biggest off-season tournaments that CGL has to offer. It's a popular one. It's one of my personal favorites. I'm Tiny Shiny with 2 Tryhard ready to kick off the NAPC division of this event, and it is by far the largest that we have here.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm sure you guys are already sick of me. I did all the EU this morning. Don't worry, I'm only here for one match. We got a replacement coming for me after this, but might as well enjoy my time on the NA side because, you know, EU, they're kind of known for loving their Reinhardt and known for loving their Brawl, their goats, their stuff. NA doesn't have that love and affiliate. Not that they can't play it, not that they're not good at it, but they don't have the admiration like the EU side does. So I'm excited to see how these NA teams decide to go about things. But before we get into the roster and stuff like that, just a couple things to go over. So for all you who are tuning into the stream, you must run Diva and Zarya for your tanks. And your third tank can either be Ryan or Winston. And then for your supports, you must run Lucio Brig. And then your third support can either be Moira, Ana, or Zen. If you come out of spawn with anything other than those characters, like if you come up with a Ryan and a Winston out of spawn, you forfeit the map.
Oh boy. Yeah, let's hope these teams read the rulebook as good as our lovely friend 2 Tryhard Ray did. So this has been very fun comp. We're taking a trip to the past, honestly, back to when this was so prominent. We've actually made a special game code for this event specifically with all of those hero changes coming back. So those of you who weren't a big fan of Brig on release, she's back, guys. Hate to say it, she's back just for this event and this event only. You'll have to look and see how these players decide to use these newly changed heroes. But before we get there, let's see who those players are actually going to be, starting off with our first team of the evening, GT.
I don't want to make any assumptions, but based on the logo, it's making me think Georgia Tech, but I'm not sure. As we start to take a look at this team, like we got Juice Ice, Kill Switch, Mikey, Genesec, Hadron, and Rigamores.
Ooh, and you know what? I was curious after you said that. It intrigued me. I Googled it because I can do that. That is Georgia Tech. So we have one of our few collegiate teams that are actually competing in this competition to start it off. So this is the Georgia Tech, I believe, their main lineup. Coming out first on the battlefield, we're going to go take a look at their opponents on the other side, which I got to say, there's a couple names that I recognize here too.
Yeah, Angelic is the one that's sticking out to me. I definitely recognize that name, and Otter. So we got Clone Man, K41, Light, and then Silent Angelic Otters. And Angelic Otters really sticks out to me. I cannot remember which team they were on. I just remember them being very good support players.
Oh yeah, this is going to be a pretty good thing to show out. The one thing that's interesting about the GOATS tournament is because there are no DPS players on here, or well, no DPS allowed, those people who are primarily meant to be the DPS players of these rosters get to be thrown around a little bit. Typically, we've seen them either move towards either the Brigitte or the Zarya, but as things have changed, we've gone from 5v5, we're now even back to 6 players. So some of these rosters have to add a 6th person to their team just to be eligible to compete here today. A lot of interesting changes and just kind of ideas to be floated around, and I really think it's going to be an adjustment period as we get ready to head in here. To start off, this is just the round robin phase, so each of these teams will be fighting for a decent spot within the playoff brackets, which will be taking place in the other Tuesdays this weekend. This is the round 1 matchup. Cat and Lights and his squad, as well as GT, are going to be starting off on Busan. These control maps are going to be the set picks for the day. The rest of it will be just losers pick from here on out. Only first to 2 though, so these series aren't going to be super duper long, so that adjustment period really got to be made brief.
Couldn't agree more. And interesting fact, I don't know if you caught the stream at all, but in our 3rd game, we actually made some history. We played the first 6v6 match on Shambali. So that was fun. We had a little
Okay.
goats matchup on Shambali. It was funny because like I remember when we were talking and discussing what map it was going to be, Shambali wasn't even on our list because I think we forgot because we were just thinking about, oh, what were the classic goats maps for Escort? And then we're like, Shambali's the map. We're like, oh yeah, that too.
That exists. I wonder if they picked it though just to say that, hey, we played goats on this map and we did it on stream, so we're cooler than everybody. That's honestly, I wonder if that took a big part in it. But
Definitely
we
possible.
Yeah. Busan definitely more one of those goats oriented map. I mean, anything is really because Shambali's never even seen it before. So these teams are going to be starting out on Mecha Priest, arguably the most brawlable of them all.
Ooh, Tiny, I cannot believe it, but Georgia Tech is playing one of the variants. They're going with the Moira variant. And unfortunate for them, I think it's the worst. Because if you don't win these fights fast, you're just going to lose because you have that heal meter that will run out.
I know, you got that extra burst of healing, but you don't have the utility that the Discord really is going to have heading into these fights. So Cloman, while at the beginning, is going to be able to swing these away and kind of get a lot done with the hammer. As these fights unfold, you'll see right now that you just aren't able to keep up at all. Cloman absolutely beat Juice Ice out into that race to the Earth Shatter. Captain Light and Mary Crew winning his results.
So for any of you guys watching, that slow-mo thing was an actual legit thing they added to the code. Because of all the extra 2 players and all the particle effects, if there's too many on the field at the same time, the server will crash. So they added this like kind of like slow mode to help it get through it better.
Oh yeah. Along with that, you also see that Reinhardt has 1,000 HP. That isn't necessarily effective. That is just going to disappear a little bit quicker. So these numbers aren't going to be truly as meaningful as they are. And, you know, Captain Light and his crew clearly taking advantage of what seems to be these increased stats, already pushing up to the spawn. Georgia Tech eventually made the switch, but I do wonder, Ray, are they going to be able to make a comeback from here?
It's going to be tough, especially with this ult rotation that Captain Light and his Mary Crew can do, and down goes Juice.
Yeah, that Graviton surge from Light leading their team to the victory there. I mean, and Georgia Tech, they had the sound barrier online, but at that point would have been too little too late.
And this is where you start to see the power of these teams and their rotations. The position for Captain Light is perfect. And then they're rotating their abilities so perfectly, and then the ult rotation comes in. Wins that fight with just 2. So they get a bank forward to keep applying the pressure.
Oh yeah, this is just how GOATS works. It's so fast-paced. These ultimates just zip right up in terms of charge, and Mecha Base is a hard one to deal with because Cloman has been able to hit these Earth Shatters back and forth. Hayden able to get the sound barrier into play just in time for the grab to come on through, but with everything else being thrown onto the field, who is going to be able to survive through the mist? Georgia Tech have already burned through all 3 of their support ultimates, but getting Angelic out of the fight is going to be huge. No sound barrier, no speed on the side of Captain Light. So this is their time to try to move forwards, get something done, but held up, and another Graviton surge from Light, the captain, once again making the difference. Cloman being gone, no true way to push on in. Georgia Tech think this is their best shot, and it might as well be their last, looking at where that time is here. Angelic eventually returns, sound barrier in grasp, and GT, after losing their main tank, had no way to stabilize at the tail end here and are looking to have a hard time switching this back over. Kill switch is going to get the flip back on, but Captain Light and his crew aren't far behind.
I'm starting to think I remember where Light's from. Light is a open division.
Yeah.
That's where I remember him from.
Oh.
Okay. This is where I remember this team from. These are players who play together in open division. Okay. But nicely done by Captain Light and his merry crew.
I know, they already got that Earth Shatter out here, and Georgia Tech, they thought they had the advantage, but again, they keep losing juice. They can't be losing juice in these fights because they're losing so much time, so much resources, both support ultimates earns just to sustain through this time. Captain Light can easily just rush on in to the back of their team. They've won that cooldown game. They actually just need to confirm these final blows, find the eliminations before their teammates do. K41 snags Regomors off the back line, no Transcendence left to keep them up and healthy. Captain Light continuing to collapse on the remaining players, and Georgia Tech, with them being at 99% and a team wipe coming through, it's unlikely they're going to be able to get a definitive touch back in.
Yeah, that's probably going to be all she wrote as the overtime wick dwindles down, and that is it. Captain Light and his merry crew take Mecha Base on Busan and in kind of dominating fashion.
Yeah. They had a little bit of a slip up in there, but I wouldn't necessarily even call it that. It was the one point in time where they just didn't have those ultimates to really combat that. Most of the time, they were the ones that were kind of in the driver's seat of this game, controlling where they were holding these chokes. That's also the nature of Mecha Base. When you look at a different part of Busan, such as downtown here, you have a slightly more say and how you're going to get to the point, but still, these such narrow ways that you have to go through against a GOATS comp that's so aggressive and rush style, Ray, it's not easy to break through if you lose that first battle.
It really isn't. And I mean, again, I still think of that first fight with Georgia Tech where they were playing the Moira. They eventually did swap to the Zen, but I mean, it gave Captain Light and his Merry Crew ultimates and advantage right from the get-go. And you just can't do that in GOATS because if you're playing it efficiently, you're never going to lose that advantage because you're always going to have 2 ultimates to use.
This has just been something that, even in terms of the Reinhardt battle, I want to highlight that specifically. Like, Juice has been nowhere near what Clone Man has been able to follow because Captain Light and his Merry Crew, their strategy has just been collapse on the Reinhardt, destroy him. And that's such a huge thing because Georgia Tech, they got no shield to hide behind, and just like this, they're going to be chasing their own tails back to spawn.
Yeah, and that's a huge D-mech onto kill switch, so they're going to have to try and die or go run off the edge and try and build up that ultimate, but it's just going to build so much time, so much momentum for Captain Light to be able to start bringing this home and take this first map. And man, look at this. Otters already has Transcendence.
Look at not even just that. Light already has Grav, nearly doubling what Mikey has, and same thing you can see in the Reinhardt battle. This is not going to be a good fight for Georgia Tech. They just need to let these ultimates come out, let that damage come through, because in this terms of this, you just need to get back in charge of the ultimate bank. Give some sort of advantage. I mean, you don't got to worry about the Earth Shatter after that got thrown into an anger plant. I gotta say, Captain Light and his crew used all of their resources now, but they're still able to keep this out in the neutral, which is fine for them when they're still in control of that point. No progress necessarily being lost, only gained.
Again, correct me if I'm wrong, Tiny, but did Light use Grav in that fight and already has it again?
Light? No. Actually, no, yeah, Light did use Grav in that fight. Hang on. What is this guy doing?
That is ridiculous. Light
Hang
is
on.
just hard carrying on this Zarya. I mean, I knew it didn't work. That is insane.
Yeah, Light's traditionally a DPS player, if I remember correctly, so this is part of the transition I'm talking about. If you get these really good players out on the Zarya, it's going to be a problem. The Graviton even went out before Light went down. This gives Captain Light and his Merry Crew a fighting chance here in this battle. Mikey, though, ended up having to use a Grav of their own. Georgia Tech just had to commit everything in, give them some sort of breathing room, a chance to go on, because they're nearing one of the last points in this fight, and Captain Light and his Merry Crew simply been doing the greater numbers and damage ultimates, literally outmatched in every pace. They need a break.
Yeah, we actually had the pleasure to cast Light and his team at the Invitational.
Yes.
So, yeah, he's a really good tank player. He was like their Orisa player in their off-tank player for the team. So
there you go.
Yeah, it makes sense why he's on the Zarya and why he's dominating so much. An OD level off-tank player, imagine.
I mean, hey, to be expected, right? If you got that much skill, just go ahead, pull out the Zarya, and here you are, basically carrying your team, which, I mean, that's Zarya's role within the GOATS comp in general, the primary damage dealer, and Light clearly capable of doing that. However, it is going to be K41's turn, puts out a tactical nuke. Actually, Aiden will become a splat on the wall somewhere in the city of Busan. This isn't over just yet. GT managed to trade it out for 2. Rally and Graviton Surge, just rather as insurance points here to keep this one back. Nice way to come around from an early loss.
I do think that was very unnecessary coming out of Mikey. You already had 2 kills. The grab was definitely not necessary. You had them on the ropes. So you used 3 ultimates in the fight where you probably only needed to keep the 2. And so it's only going to beg for Captain Light and his Merry Crew to come back. They have 4 of these ultimates built up, and this is going to be a ultimate fest coming up.
Oh yeah, it's about to get a little cray-cray out here. Shield bash in onto 3! Whoa! What just happened out here? It's actually Earth Shatter from Juice. My apologies. Either way, the combo with Kill Switch, oh, absolutely beautiful. Classic within a GOATS composition. And Georgia Tech, they're showcasing that they can really make this composition work for themselves as well.
It's one of my favorite combos because it just puts that mind game onto the enemy Reinhardt of how long do I wait before I turn to try and block this Diva Bomb.
I know, right?
And trying to avoid the Shatter from hitting.
It's more of a mental game than anything, and right now it's more of a race to the point because the time is running slim for Captain Light and their team, and Cloman ran out of health in the progress. GT, they are in the midst of an absolute chaotic point right here. They have the health to help sustain them, and Mikey is holding on to that Graviton Surge as long as possible. Nobody's necessarily going to go down to that with all of the healing coming in from those various supports, but in the end, 6 assists means the end of Angelic, and this is looking like Georgia Tech taking this to a map 3 of Sanctuary. The cleanup has to be there though, because Cloman's gotten back with an Earthshatter, historically has gotten the better of Juice in these and does it once again. Earthshatter laid down, but the backup has already fallen. Healing unavailable. Georgia Tech just struggling to close this out. Classic composition for this. Usually you'll see these fights go fast, but they also have the potential to drag out super long like this, just with the amount of sustain and health. But in the end, GT will be taking this to a round 3 of Sanctuary.
And actually, earlier in the EU, we did Busan, and this is the map order we got, and we never got to the 3rd map. So I'm excited to be headed to Sanctuary, as you mentioned, for map number 3. I think, you know, where you hold and how you rotate, especially on this next map, is going to be very important because there's like 3 or 4 different directions you can go attack the point from. So being able to catch teams, you know, sleeping, coming into the next fight, you know, maybe they're expecting you to hold one way, but you hurry up and speed the other way to really give your chance to get to the point easier. I think that rotations for position are going to be important on this map.
Yeah, this is unlike the other 2 maps. There's so much open space here on Sanctuary that these teams can prove to kind of emphasize where they want to push. Captain Light opted to go for the objective. GT taking more of an off angle. They have the slight advantage of the high ground, but when you need to play close and personal, it's better just to meet Captain Light and his crew on the point here. So you're going to be on an even playing field, kind of peeking in and out from the drum, waiting out. Key, these bubble cooldowns are going to be some of the most important. Often in these early fights, you're also going to see that race to the Earth Shatter. Both of these Reinhardts rather even at this time, but that's about to change. Light going down, majority of that damage has been lost. So GT up to an early advantage, assuming they can keep it running, but without their Reinhardt, Cloman's just going to casually walk on the rest of their team, take him out to dinner. Why don't you? They'll take Sanctuary first.
Yeah, I was going to say, you know, you did lose Light, but in the process, you were able to take out both their Reinhardt and DMEC their Diva. Yeah. So you got what you needed to out of that death. So, you know, Captain Light wins the first fight, and now they can look. This is where the positions start to matter. You got to have your head on a swivel and always be checking, figuring out where this team is coming from, and have yourself positioned, because like positioning is important in Overwatch in general. It's extremely important to have all your team in the right spot for GOATs.
If one player is out of position, you're going to blow up. And some people might blow up quite literally. There's K41. That was the self-destruct. Not much other than forcing the Transcendence on the side of GT, which is okay for them. If they got Cloman out of the fight and they're able to snowball this one forwards, that's fine. But you can't just commit the grab and not have anything happen here, Ray. Nobody ended up falling down to that ultimate specifically. And this is going to be a really hard time for GT to validate staying in this fight. And in the end, you have to go back to the spawn at that loss.
Yeah, I think if I'm a Diva player and I throw my bomb out and I force trans, I'd be like, you couldn't stop my Diva bomb anyways. So I forced out an ultimate that I wasn't expecting to. If I throw a bomb, I'm expecting to try and force out sound barrier, honestly speaking. But they got out trans, so that's huge, and then they're able to ride that momentum through, because then you could throw out the grab like they did, and they had no trans for it.
Yeah, and now you can think about, you have these cooldowns out of play. Okay. Ultimates, aka cooldowns when you're playing GOATs, because it just goes fast. I mean, we're not even talking about it that much unless it's super significant in this fight, which Earthshatters tend to be that way. It has an extended uptime now, just in terms of the Earthshatter coming in, but that combo tad bit too late. Silence still does fall, despite the self-destruct not being there in time. Light soon to follow. This is GT taking that aggressive initiative, not allowing Cloman to initiate with that shatter, and they'll be able to save this to another day.
They do get it all the way up to 97%. So if you're Captain Light, all you got to do is win one single fight. They're going to have a Transcendence and an Earthshatter online, but I think for these next couple fights, GT has the advantage. Transcendence, grab, Diva bomb, sound barrier. They just got to make sure, as we mentioned, that they're rotating these properly and don't dump all these ultimates to continue this hold.
is Captain Light. They're a team that will recognize when you're using too many of these ultimates. And it's going to be a problem, but what a boom to put the Reinhardt in the middle of the team. That wasn't expected at all. The Earthshatter went down. So many things happening on the battlefield, but GT able to use a lot of their tools to keep them up in the fight. But the problem is, Ray, they did exactly what we didn't want them to do, which was to use a lot more of these resources than we had. Thankfully, Captain Light has made a very similar exchange, if not a greater one here. So lucky for GT, they're going to be just fine to hold the point.
Yeah, I would argue greater. They threw in 3-4 ultimates into that fight, and Georgia Tech threw in 2, maybe 1. It was like 2, I think. So I'd be very happy if I was Georgia Tech. And they've already built up to another grab. They already got their Diva mech back. So I think you're in a solid spot coming up on 70%. Captain Light and his merry crew have to turn this around. They do have a rally online to sustain themselves from here.
And they're going to actually use the rally to initiate. And Grade 41 eating the grab is perfect for that to come through with no defensive ultimates in play. Captain Light, they can now just rush in with that sound barrier, keep them alive, but then, oh no, the Earthshatter puts a hitch in their plans while they're sitting up extremely slowly on this feeling. You can just feel the pain of these players. The sound barrier was able to get out just in time, but K41 is doing so much damage out here. This is Captain Light and his merry crew finally coming back with that advantage, and it all started with that Graviton Surge being eaten. If they didn't do that, I don't think they would be here today, able to come away with the map of Busan.
I could not agree with you more. When they needed the most, K41 came with the hero play and set their team up for victory. I mean, overall, both teams super impressive. Everyone on the merry crew were very merry. They're very good.
Oh yeah.
But again, it comes down to big plays like the of that grab. We were saying earlier on the broadcast, because we've seen I think we've seen like 4 or 5 eaten grabs today so far. We were wanting like talking about having a counter and like a ding every time it happens.
I know, right? We honestly need one of those. That would actually be pretty cool if we had one of those, like just like a little button we could press, like, you know, on Discord has those little sound effects things. That would be kind of funny, but unfortunately don't have one. I expect a lot more of those to come through, and the fact that K41
like
was able to get
exactly
num 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 like a little Pac-Man thing, just like chasing across the street. Okay, that might be a little bit of a copyright, but we're not gonna go there in the first place. I mean, there were still so many stellar plays besides that last one. The last one was emphasized just because it was quite literally the last decision, but a lot of these moments here, especially, I want to point out, we mentioned Light in this particularly downtown center here, went absolutely crazy on the Zarya in terms of building up that Graviton Surge charge. Coleman 16, for the most part, was able to kind of run over Juice Ice, which is arguably GT's greatest weakness throughout the entire map of Busan, and I'm curious how that's really going to adjust once we move away from control, when you're more focused on how these rotations are going to be into play. You have more options in choosing when and how you're going to take this fight, because the payload quite literally moves along the way.
I do think Mikey has done a good job of keeping up as much as he can with Light. I mean, we saw on specifically that last map, I know they didn't end up winning it, but used grab just like Light did and basically earned another one within that fight, which is insane. But I mean, when you're Zarya and Goats, where you constantly have 100 charge, basically, you're just a glorified, just wrecking crew yourself. It can get pretty easy to build up that ult.
I know, you just got that laser beam and you go, it's terrifying. And there's so many bright lights and colors to be shown out through that. It can be difficult to kind of break down through all of that chaos. And I give these players credit. They're keeping their heads on, hopefully. I mean, I don't know what's happening in the comms. Might be getting a little crazy back there. This is going to be a matchup that, especially when we get to these higher levels of gameplay, they need to be more calculated and controlled about their approach, because even the smallest mistakes are going to be punished, and oftentimes these fights are going to end less off of these huge plays from one team, but often the mistakes of the other.
Couldn't agree with you more. And well, we do have that map pick in, and we had a betting game going earlier, me and Sam. We were like, I would bet all of my money that every game we get,
honestly,
second map pick is going to be King's Row. Like, it's the quintessential Goats map. Like, you think Goats, you think King's Row. Like, there is no other map that's more iconic for Goats.
This is the one time that I will say, all right, you can pick King's Row, and I'm not going to complain about it, all right? Because this is like the Goats map. If you don't play it, you have done a dishonesty to the entire of the Overwatch 1 community who were playing in this era. King's Row Wait, actually, hang on. Have you seen this map in every game you've played today? I'm just curious.
Yes, we have. All three.
You have?
All three with the King's Row. Yep.
I love that. I love that. Okay. So, King's Row, that's where it's at. We're going to have to see if that theme continues throughout the NA side today. So, EU, pretty consistent. And, hey, heading over to the other side of the bracket can change a little bit. I do want to point out, we do have other options in terms of the support comps. Do you really think that's really going to make much of a difference on any points in the maps? As you were mentioning before, you haven't seen too many far today, or even if you did, they didn't find much success.
The ironic part was the Ana we did see come out today and had success for a good majority of King's Row. What it was on King's Row.
Really?
For a good majority of it, the Ana was getting some pretty good value. The antis were actually coming through pretty strong, and they were really making it work. Hey, kitty! Making a little appearance on the stream.
This. She decided to join me. She opened my door. I put something in front of it so she would not open my door, and she still pushed past it. So yeah, Kitty, she's enjoying the goats too. I don't blame her. I mean, I could put her out there. She could probably race a Reinhardt down the main streetways here. I mean, you always charge down the point. Have the cat race you. That sounds fun. Georgia Tech, though, they're going to be the ones on that defense first, kind of setting themselves up. Not too much of a competition here. If anything, they want to slow down the speed record that Captain Blight and his Merry crew are inevitably wanting to make. The one thing, though, that I mentioned this a couple times, is that Juice Ice has struggled a little bit more just under the pressure, that focus fire that Captain Light and his Merry crew have been able to put out onto that Reinhardt. I mean, typically you'd want to go for the squishies, but if Juice Ice even gets the slightest bit out of position, then they are instantly punished.
100%. As we start moving and getting into this first attack, again, I'm looking at these Briggs, Genesect, and Silent. The Brig is a very crucial role to this. It's basically the healer. I mean, you have to constantly proc Inspire if you want to be able to win.
Oh yeah, you need to be swinging, you need to be hitting these whip shots is a key point to actually get these happening, because if you don't have healing for your team, and yeah, that's just how quickly these competitions can fall over if you're not getting. Look at the difference in ult charge between Silent and Genesect right now. If that doesn't tell you where that healing was gone, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and Brig, in a fight like that, if you're constantly swinging and hitting all your whip shots, you can build up that ultimate that quickly. It is insane. I mean, just look at the difference across the board from Captain. I mean, when you win a dominating fight that takes up a good 30 seconds, you're sitting there swinging and going, whoa, what is this?
That was gutsy, but I mean, hey, you'll take a 2-for-1 trade 100%. I mean, the fact that Captain Light and crew are winning this fight while forcing the Transcendence too.
And then tries to send back.
Whoa! And oh, the stagger! Oh, and I mean, not really a stagger, but that's just more poor Regamors was taken all alone from his team for a private execution. That's what that just was.
You're not wrong, Teddy. You're not wrong. Very bold way of putting it, but you're definitely correct. As now they're able to get past probably the bookstore without having to deal with taking a fight there, because both the archway and the bookstore are such key defensive positions to hold, and they're not going to be able to do that. So we're looking at taking a fight here at the Foundry.
They're getting this pretty far up, and this is a huge part for King's Row to be able to get this far. And Captain Light, they're continuing to take initiative, rally out early, and they're not able to save everybody from the Earth Shatter, though, so that's a little bit of a problem. Angelic had to use that sound barrier a little bit earlier than you would have liked, because Mikey now is that Graviton Surge coming out onto the field. The Transcendence, yeah, it's going to be there, but tactical nukes are incoming. I just love how this is, like, slowly panning out to everybody's impending doom. As this goes, you see everything just exploding left, right, and center, but it only kills but no! 4 to get paid for the death of a pilot diva. Wow, you take that any day of the week. Georgia Tech needed that so bad.
Yeah, it had been a long road for Georgia Tech, but they finally get that forward piece. But I don't know if this aggression might come back to fight them. Everyone is back.
They got confident. They went far up. Juice Ice barely able to stay alive. You better be thanking Regamors for that only cause there. Kai had already forced out of the mech, so Captain Light and his crew, a lot of that progress, they got aggressive. They thought they caught GT off guard, but they're the ones now struggling to keep their health bars up just in this sight line, and, you know, they're okay with this neutral game. Look what it's gotten Light. Another Graviton Surge, assuming they're able to stay alive, but Killswitch just said no, just as they get that mech back online here. So Georgia Tech wanting to keep this one going, but losing their Reinhardt. Look how much space they have to give up. They're literally sprinting back for their spawn. I've never seen a team move so fast.
Yeah, I think it's a very smart decision, even though Captain Light is down there, Zarya. You don't have your Reinhardt, so you have no shielding for your team, so you have to completely back out here. We have a battle of dueling grabs, so I'm very curious to see how these teams are going to approach it, especially since Otters, actually now they both have Transcendence.
Yeah, they both have it up here, but both of them have to use them likely within the Graviton Surge here, or at least some sort of ultimate. Georgia Tech actually ended up using both of theirs at the exact same time, but it doesn't do anything against the self-destruct. Sound barrier shields already had worn off. Captain Light and his crew taking this early advantage, and they're going to run away with it as much as they can. Look at everything that was used by Georgia Tech there. 4 ultimates, Ray, and now they have none of that, and haven't given themselves a good chance of recontesting.
That was a huge mistake coming out from Georgia Tech. I don't know if you saw that, Tiny, but when that grab went out, not only did they use Transcendence, but they also piled on the sound barrier, and that's a miscommunication to me. Grab should only be countered by Transcendence. There's no reason for you to throw in sound barrier like that. So then when the Shatter came out from Clone Man and the fight continued, you had no sound barrier to sustain yourself.
And it's just these small things like that throughout the chaos. It's these minuscule areas that make the largest difference in terms of these battles, and not having that sound barrier now, Captain Light, they're actually going to be in the same position, and Juice once again overextending themselves. So Captain Light, they're not out of it just yet because Clone Man just has a giant rectangle to chill behind. Graviton Surge to swing into essentially for free. Nice commitment there for Light. Not too much of an overcompensation, just being cautious, knowing they lack that healing.
As again, we are rounding the final corner on Kings Row. They're looking to make an impressive time bank as Georgia Tech is getting very close to many ultimates. They need to build these up quickly because Captain Light has them.
The Earth Shatter in the spawn. Clone Man just took the fight to GT, but there it is again, Ray. Both the Transcendence and the Sound Barrier used at the same time. They're not going to have this for the later half of this fight. This better be one of the biggest Graviton Surges I have ever seen to be able to turn this one aground, but it might be too late. Kai comes up with another 2. GT, if only you had a Sound Barrier for that one, because now you're going to have to try to not only complete Kings Row, but with a time bank again, 2 minutes and 48 seconds.
So a couple things as you mentioned. They layered those 2 ultimates again. And then like you said, you could have had that for the Diva Bomb. That's what you always use Sound Barrier for, is the Diva Bomb. And the other thing is, you know, it did not matter how big that grab was because Rigor Morris had Transcendence.
Exactly.
Like, he was just going to heal the entire team through it. So it's, I mean, it just feels like Captain Light and his Merry Crew are playing the ultimate game so much better, and they're using the right ultimates to counter the right things. As I mentioned, I said it on the stream earlier, Sound Barrier is for Diva Bomb, Trans is for Grav. Rallies are just, basically rallies are always going to be popped at the same time from these 2 teams, generally speaking. And then Shatter, that's what you have a shield for.
Yep. There's a method to the madness, people. There's a method to this madness. I promise.
There's a reason why this was such a dominating comp for years, and they had to create Roll-Lock to get rid of this.
It will never be stopped. It's kind of crazy. There's just so many. But the problem is that if they aren't counted correctly, because these are large abilities that you're dealing with here, if you're not countering them properly, that's just the end of the fight, and like that's it. End of sentence. Done. So Georgia Tech really got to start understanding that, where these need to be countered, start fixing some of these small communication errors, because I believe that they do have an understanding of how to play this comp, but it's just these small little things that are giving them such a hard time in this fight, and you can really see that start to unfold here. Now, we're starting at all 0, but we know very well that's going to change very quickly because Clone Man is getting closer and closer to that Shatter by the second. Oh my goodness, Juice Ice hasn't even hit 20 yet. Well, this guy is only 25% left until they get their first ultimate, which Clone Man wants to do it right now, even has it online. Just going to wait for GT to come in, make a move themselves. They're scared, Ray.
My question is, do they even know he has the Shatter?
Whoa, what a block! That was insane. It still grabbed Gen Sec, but saving most of their team. Not too bad for Juice Ice. Unfortunately, you lost your main sense of support. Regamorphs can help you for about 6 seconds, but once that is down, Captain Light and his merry crew, they're going to be up and turn it into the cleanup crew, if I have anything to say about it. Kai just heading right on in, adding that little bit of extra fire through, and Georgia Tech, they're kind of struggling to find the angle here. They seem lost.
Yeah, I mean, this first point hold is already coming through so strong. And the best part about everything so far is all you've used is a shatter, correct? So then you look at, okay, where are we sitting at ultimate-wise? He's already almost caught up to Juice again on the...
Wow!
It's like you never used it.
This is crazy. I mean, not only do you have that, but you also got Light just sitting here waiting for the grab. Here comes that deadly combo we all know and love. Another triple kill for the Diva K41. Oh, this is just textbook GOATs right here that Captain Light are playing.
That's an interesting one. Normally, when I've played GOATs in the past and I combo the grab Diva Bomb, you normally throw the Diva Bomb in the air and wait and get it to drop on top of the shield. But that one was because he couldn't really turn to block that one. That was really smart.
You couldn't really do anything about it, and you know, you can definitely do something about that Earth Shatter because there's that Sound Barrier and Transcendence. It's at the same time again. Fortunately for Captain Light, they're okay just because a lot of those key cooldowns to counter have already been put out. The only time they're going to run into an issue is if GT are able to heal themselves up, walk in with this Transcendence or even potentially the Sound Barrier to engage on their own. This could change the pace just a little bit. The self-destruct gets Clo-Man of all people. The Shield Bash came in the nick of time. Suddenly, Captain Light, they're finding themselves in the same struggling position. GT, they full sent it straight back into the point. They need to take advantage of it, and they have to because for the third time, Sound Barrier and Transcendence out.
Yeah, but they should be able to totally regroup here and they're going to get another contest here. They're here again.
Wow, they're already back. I mean, I'm not surprised. This is just Captain Light being aggressive, and they ran over Juice Ice. It's like a freight train that can't be stopped. Juice Ice didn't really look like Reinhardt there. Looked more like a Mercy that just got run over by a freight train. I said that again. I don't know why. I'm feeling the freight train puns today. It's just the thing.
I mean, that's what GOATs is. It
is. It really is. There's no back button, honestly. You're always just colliding.
Yeah, I mean, there is a back button, Lucio speed boost when your Reinhardt dies to get the rest of your team out of there. But, yeah, I mean, very well done. Unfortunate. They were 1.3% away from getting that second tick. Very unfortunate. So, and look at the ultimates. Light has there's the shatter.
I mean, if they can get this just off the shatter, Juice Ice was never able to regain any of that health, and yeah, this is just going to be another grab. Get this one done and over with. GT, they are struggling to get through, and with only 30 seconds remaining, Ray, what do they have left in the tank?
I mean, what they have left in the tank is this grab coming online. Unfortunately, they're going to have a Transcendence to counter it. I think we got to be looking at, hopefully you can force enough pressure to try and reinforce that Sound Barrier and Transcendence combo we saw, and then get Kill Switch to throw in another big Diva Bomb.
Again! The grabs, though, they didn't get that done, and the Transcendence essentially can be used for free. K41 is just solely one Captain Light that fight potentially here. GT, they're going to attempt to get a touch in, working the way through the chaos. Clone-Man on the back pedal, stopping up the main for support for the time being, but ends up losing their life at a cost. The rest of their squad just backed off, didn't support the Reinhardt in time, despite both the Lucio and Zenyatta ultimates being on the field. You don't need a Reinhardt, though, if you're Light, because there's the seriously fourth grab of this map. 1 per minute this guy is rocking. And Georgia Tech, they are unable to push on through. Captain Light and his merry crew taking away the first round of the round robin of the GOATS tournament.
Yeah, that was just absolute domination. I don't know if it took Captain Light and his merry crew a map or something, because that first one was extremely close, but it felt like a switch was turned up and the light has come out. And Light has been absolutely dominating on this. I mean, the entire team has just been ridiculous. But me and my puns, I had to get it in there.
I mean, it wasn't necessarily the kill switch that did it, you know? I mean, well, they found it just once with that killer self-destruct that we saw at the very end there, and it just wasn't enough. This seriously came down to the idea that Captain Light, they looked more coordinated. They outdid the stats in every regard. I don't even need to see them. I can just look at the ultimate charge and be like, Light charged up 4 grabs on that attack.
Yep.
Clone Man completely, seriously, lacked juice to that Earth Shatter along so many other regards that are just these things you got to understand about the basics of the GOATS composition. However, I do want to point out, though, Captain Light and his merry crew, this is a squad that we want to be looking out for. GT, they got time to get their act together, figure out how they can improve, and hopefully get themselves a spot in the playoff bracket starting tomorrow, because this is going to be a competition where teams that are coming into this who have played not only in this tournament before, but have the practice on GOATS, have that extra layer of coordination that we just haven't seen from them yet.
Yeah, I think the Captain Light and his Merry Crew is definitely a team to watch out for to win the whole thing. As I mentioned, it's loaded with open division talent. There's other open division teams in here, but again, this is just one of the teams to continue to watch out for this entire amazing weekend of GOATS.
Love GOATS, greatest of all time. And, you know, we had a pretty good match. Started out, map 1 was pretty close, but in the end, we know who that true victor really was. And Captain Lighter's merry crew, my goodness, I'm sure they're feeling pretty merry about moving on toward the second round with a win already under their belt. So the PC division, just looking at the teams, the little glimpse that I got before we sat down, got on the camera here it's looking scary. The fact that this team looked as strong as they did against Georgia Tech, a collegiate team that is known to compete together for a good amount of time, that I'm a little scared for what the future is going to look like, but like excited scared, because I know we're going to have some great GOATS matches to come your way. And you know what, it's been very fun to start it off here in round 1 with you to try hard Ray, but I'm sure your voice needs a rest after how many matches have you casted today?
This is the 4th one.
The 4th one. Yeah, see, that's a lot. You need your voice because you will definitely be using it more this weekend, and it was a lot of fun to see these two teams kick it off, but we got so much more to come your way in just a little bit, so we're going to go ahead, throw it to a break, get the next teams in the lobby, let Ray have a good rest of his night as well, and we'll see you guys on the other side.
Later.
Water is the softest and most yielding substance, yet nothing is better than water for overcoming the hard and rigid, because nothing can compete with it. Lao Tzu.
Name straight, new wave. 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 Yeah. 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 Memories. Memories. Yeah. Memories. Memories.
Feel my heart, it's beat tight. Hold my body's
Welcome back to the CGL GOATS Tournament. It is time for round number 2 of the round robin stage. We had a pretty good match for our starters. Started off pretty close, but in the end, it was actually a pretty decisive stomp as we continued through that series, and we got a lot more to come through. I believe we got a total of 5 matches today.
Yep.
Match number 2 on stream. I'm still Tiny Shiny. We have a new color caster joining us, however, so if Danum will be on the stream, on the mic, giving us a breakdown of what is happening in GOATS and GOATS. What's the
Goats.
opinion? How do you feel about GOATS? I know everyone has a different opinion here.
Look. You can change Overwatch. You can get rid of a player on the team. Overwatch is eternal, but so is GOATS, and GOATS has grown to be one of the most favored formats of a lot of these players. GOATS are literally eternal. You can change what you want. It's never going to die, and so is the love of the players who want to play GOATS. So, I mean, this is a small, we just finally got this patch rolling. Everything's kind of, if you've been watching, you kind of see the wackiness that has to work to really make this go. But the dedication of the players to really want to keep this format and this style of play going, I think is the more impressive thing. The plays we've seen so far, and the plays still yet to come in this round robin section, I think are going to be something you have to keep an eye out for.
Most definitely. I mean, GOATS, while it is the same 6 heroes. I almost said 5. 6 heroes every time. There's still many ways that the composition can vary, just in terms of there's a lot of moving parts in terms of that composition, and because it's been around for so long, we've really gotten to see so many different looks of how these really kind of come into play, how they can interact with each other. But of course, that does depend on the teams that they will actually be playing on. So let's actually take a look at them first. We're starting out with Monsoon coming into this. I'm not familiar with too many of these players myself, so it's kind of the question mark within this matchup for me, just in terms of what that performance is going to be looking like, because I know on the other side, I know some of those players.
I'll let you talk about all those faces you know and are friends with, because I do know Zephyr and I do know Mac Tackle. I've seen them around. They've been around. A couple of these players have been around the CGL scene for a while, and I believe putting in quite a show in the previous GOATS era. So, I mean, these are veterans. These guys know how these events run. And considering you do have those minute changes, like we've kind of talked about for those who don't know and maybe didn't have it fully explained, 6v6, the same 6 heroes, you do have a couple swaps, so the Ana, the Moira, the Zen can kind of come in and out, but the Brig as like one of the more fundamental kind of carry points of like a DPS player, really I'm watching for Zephyr on that.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I mean, you mentioned that players like Zephyr and Mac Tackle, they've been in the scene for a long time. I'm sorry, I haven't been here for a long time compared to some people, so I will know you. I will never forget you again. That is one of my strengths right there. But I also, off of that point though, in all seriousness, is there are teams that will literally just show up to play this GOATS tournament. Like there are so many squads here. We mentioned it earlier. We have open division teams. We got teams from Calling All Heroes. We seriously have some contenders lineups. I was gonna say, why don't you send us to the other team, because like honestly,
let's talk about it, because this is a team that you know and you've seen before.
I know these people. I know. I got to see them. They're fun. They're cool people. However, I don't know what they look like when they have 6 people and when they don't have their main support. So that's kind of the interesting thing here. Auburn was not able to be here today. I believe they weren't feeling well, so I wish her that she feels well soon. But for now, they'll be having a 6th player come on in, a substitute. That is new to this roster, which can lead to some difficulties, especially when you're in a composition like GOATS that relies so heavily on communication.
Yeah, this whole format is so reliant on teamwork. But the one thing they do have going for them is this is a squad that has played together recently. This is a squad that plays together even in 5v5. They all understand how they want to work, how understand they play. Sometimes you'll swap one or the other out. But this squad clearly knows how to play like a team, so they do have a little bit of an edge in that. I'm going to keep an eye, though, like you said, on that question mark. Sarah is moving over to, it looks like, the Lucio or possibly one of the main supports. Yeah. So I'm really going to keep an eye on what those changes have come in, especially on this first map, which is, everybody's favorite map.
Oh, yeah. Everybody's favorite control map, the King's Row of control maps, Lijiang Tower. This is also another good one for GOATS. Basically any control map is, but this one is often the favorite. You got places such as Control Center, where you're just going to go ahead, straight up roll it out, and you got other places that are going to rush to the point where you're going to have all of these different environmental opportunities, which is going to be pretty cool to see a lot of these Lucios, these Brigidas into play to make these huge things happen, which, I mean, that'd be pretty darn cool if we got to see, like, some environmentals here. But I don't think I've seen any of those too soon yet today, but hey, that could very well change looking at where we're starting.
Yeah, I don't expect to see any of those, considering these teams are going to move as such a tight unit. The thing that is going to be the most important for these squads is keeping that cover, though, like you said, because boops are available, but also because any stray damage, any random, just Zarya spam or any just random flails that come through is going to be important. They are opting in for the Zenyatta's, which is interesting. They really are valuing Discord here. Usually, by the time we were done, we saw the Ana as a main point, really kind of opting in for Discord over the anti-nade. I'm curious to see if these stick for both teams or if someone swaps into that Ana, because that may make a difference down the line.
I find that an interesting point, though, because even in EU earlier today, we haven't seen much variance from the Zenyatta, and, for good reason. Zenyatta is such value. Like the Discords, I mean, Cranky Guy just got shredded, sub 200 HP, which, granted, these aren't always accurate. I hear you laughing over there. Yeah, this is GOATS right now. We get to see it unfold in slow motion, just as Jacoby saw their death unfold in slow motion. Not a great look for them to start out, which, mind you, they were actually typically a support player, playing the Reinhardt out here, so this could be potentially a bit of a learning curve for Catboy Cafe, as they're having a rough start.
Yeah, like you said, having to kind of make these swaps on players, and also this is a tough format to be in when you have, you know, veterans of this format really going so far, and you can see it in the Reinhardts, you know, Jacoby being the first to fall. They are going to be behind in the Shatter, and that is such an important tool to opening this up. Also behind in the Sound Barrier, and that early pick on the Zeno means that this push is basically dead. They'll aggress onto this.
Yeah, you gotta go in on this. There's just not the same amount of healing there. But Zephyr, you want to talk about that, buddy? Time to run away, Monsoon, because Catboy Cafe suddenly looks like they wanted to chase them back down.
Yeah, that's actually your main damage. They're gonna have to commit this grab and Shatter in and bait out this trance really quickly here.
I know, you gotta be committing these resources. You don't have the break, not gonna be back just yet. Well, Zeno has this rally up, gonna negate most of the damage from that Earth Shatter here.
Great read.
They're countering out these ultimates near perfectly, but will be enough for that self-destruct in the backline. Everybody appears to be A-okay to live another day, except for Cranky Guy, who got pancaked against a wall. Jacoby raided back in with a vengeance, cleaning up the remainder of Monsoon. So Catboy Cafe proved that they can come back in, but they gotta do it again without Zephyr jumping off the map.
60%, and, well, they'll hold that for now. A great initial read from Monsoon to try to isolate the Diva and allow the Graviton Surge to come through, but an even better read from Catboy to bring that back. They'll have Bomb and that Graviton Surge going in, and there's only Trance on their side. You can't necessarily stop that. They'll have Rally, and that's not a stop there. So getting this Graviton Surge and getting past these support ultimates that are both going to come up pretty quickly from Monsoon are key.
This needs to be Catboy Cafe. Kind of trying to hold their own ground here. Force out these support ults, but no! Back tackle takes away the one thing that was going to hold them all together.
Huge.
Jacoby just isn't going to have the sustain here because Mac Tackle, I mean, that was over as soon as that play came out.
Huge.
I don't even need to talk the rest of the fight. We already know what's going to happen.
Yeah, these are quick and efficient teams here, and eating that grab was basically the nail in the coffin there. Very cheap, all things considered. Both support ultimates means that Monsoon has some aggressive tools going into this in the Shatter and self-destruct. They're probably going to save it for this upcoming, and you know, it will probably lend to about 1 or 2 fights. Catboy Cafe only has this Rally Shatter. It's going to be tough to find an isolative target, especially with that self-destruct, so whoever can hold on to these ultimates later is going to come out on top here.
This really is kind of the waiting game to see who will pull that trigger first. And Monsoon, they don't got enough time, and they're going to have a bit more of it, but just with that Earth Shatter alone, there's that environmental that we really wanted to see. Sarah flown off the map, and yeah, Monsoon, that was just Cranky Guy leaping around the corner. Nobody saw it coming, and I don't even think Catboy Cafe can get another fight in here.
No, there's not going to be a chance, especially with the Lucio going down late. Sarah dying, unfortunately, with that trance means that this is basically done. They will get the touch. They need to survive long enough to get that trance here, and they'll make the Lucio come in. That trance is coming. Zazum Yada, is he going to make it?
Oh, taking the leap of faith. Oh, Sarah
he
did
got
manage to make it across, but everybody else has missed the jump, took a swim in the pond of Lijiang Tower. Monsoon, they'll be the ones to come out on top because Catboy Cafe just couldn't make the leap of faith.
Unfortunately, the jump was a bit short, and we'll see some other competitors into the taking a swim as well. I mean, it's summer. You're going to take that. That's fine. But
true. I mean, hey.
Yeah, why not? I mean, a great showing from both teams. Initially, some great looks, and you kind of get the chance to see this. Just watch Monsoon on these surrounds, though. You can kind of see how quickly they isolate that Reinhardt. And again, here, it's going to be the Zen clearing the gap, the Winston clearing it too. But this kind of surrounding that Monsoon really does show that they understand how this comp wants to work. They're really finding a way to get behind and isolate Jacoby, who unfortunately just may not have the understanding how to play Ryan in this situation. It's not their fault. They're a great player. This is just a different game, so it looks like they'll keep the same matchups here going into this, and you know, no sim TP, so it's really going to kind of depend on the pathing for these teams. Getting this initial point control is going to be crucial.
Yeah, you got to figure out how are you going to get there first. And I mean, both teams are kind of meeting in this neutral area outside of the main temple, rotating to the point, which Monsoon does that a little faster, and that's really going to hurt Catboy Cafe here because suddenly their windows of opportunity have really narrowed. They're able to poke in just soon enough, catch Zephyr off guard, so they can snowball that in to another victory, but they got to be very careful from here moving on out, how they're playing and where they're positioning themselves.
Yeah, they managed to keep the Zarya up and charged, and I think that was something that worked very, very quickly as Cyan was able to build that Zarya charge and get this going. Jacoby is 71 to a shatter, and Zeno does have that rally coming up, so they are ahead in this. They should have those tools first and should be able to strike aggressively.
In theory here, Jacoby looking to build that up, and that Fire Strike just nearly going to be the thing to do it. And even a pin on a Cranky Guy who got stunned by a lovely shield bash. Look at the teamwork coming in from Catboy Cafe to make this fight happen. Gazzetto just marched straight on in.
Yeah, that warning for the raid boss was real right there with Zeno. Mac will have a nice dive, but yeah. I mean, now Catboy's in such a great spot. They have self-destruct. They managed to save Shatter. They won that with only Rally, so they will be ahead. And Ultimates are still now just coming online in Fight 3 here. They have to find an isolation like I have in those previous rounds because Monsoon is just behind here.
Monsoon, there's just not much they can do, and they can't do anything if they're laid down on their backs. Salvieri there, sure, but you don't have a Reinhardt, this Graviton Surge, you simply don't have the follow-up, especially with the Transcendence into play, and Evan, I'd love to see that one held on to a little bit earlier. It's kind of okay because Cyan used their own, but you gotta just let that be the end of it. Don't commit any other ultimates, 50 free. I see you over there. This is Catboy Cafe turning a losing battle into one that they were starting to win. This could be tricky though because they're starting to get separated. They gotta regroup behind the sound barrier, make something happen out. That's just gonna be the case of what happens on the battlefield here today. Monsoon, they've not been able to break through this choke.
No, it's always the case as in GOATS. As is tradition, the later ultimates used, they'll push up and take the space. This is last fight, and Scribbles, it looks like their ultimate is kind of stuck there. They'll have they'll have 2 of their 3 DP support ultimates on there, and I mean, with Shatter, it means that this is basically a held fight. They'll hold it on point, and I mean, Eben needs to get charged up immediately.
I mean, you can afford to give up this space right now because Jacoby could walk right back into the back line. 53 didn't have anything else left to fight that one off, and this is going to be Catboy Cafe, a complete turnaround from what we saw in the last map. We wanted them to get their act together. That is exactly what they did here. I do want to question, though, how much of that was due to them capping the point first and Monsoon struggling? This is the direction that I want to see Control Center take. How much does that first cap actually have an effect on the outcome?
I think the answer to your question is it has quite a bit. We've kind of seen it here. First cap has led to a successful take of the submap. And I mean, the other part to that is just how are you using your speed boost? How are you using your Brigitte? If your Brigitte is the first to fall pretty consistently like Monsoon, like it's unfortunately happened to Monsoon, you know, your main tank, your Reinhardt and your Brigitte are pretty big damage outputs. And the other part to this is that Cafe has been building ults faster and then using them later. They've been forcing the resources out. Now here in Control Center though, you know, there's a little bit of a positioning battle going to happen. That high ground just up those stairs is really, really important to control. It does give you a little bit of an advantage, and it might be worth that fighting point. I expect those teams to meet there, and I really am watching for Zeno there. Wow, Zeno's already at 4%. Interesting. I wonder what happened. Wonder what's making that little bit of a difference.
You know what? It's going to have to matter even more because you don't got a Lucio to help get Jacoby out of danger, and Jacoby will get out, but not on their own accord. So, yeah, Catboy Cafe going to have to take the L on this one, and this is big for Monsoon. We mentioned how big that struggle was to push in. Catboy Cafe, now it's your turn.
Yeah, and now at 91 with Evan holding onto the Zarya charge is going to have so much. They'll build it back up to 100. That Zarya is fierce already there. They'll get the cap as it opens in this fight. I mean, they're already 60 to it, and Cyan's down. This is basically already a done fight.
Yeah, this is essentially it. Like, this is a cop of one elimination is so decisive in terms of the outcoming factor. The fact that Monsoon are able to win this, look at that difference in terms of the ultimate bank. Like, this is so good for them right now.
Sarah will come into Trance, and Zeno will have their rally. That's their only tools. They're going to have to use the rally to enter, and they're going to have to hope that Sarah, she can hold on to that Trance and use it later. Oh, we're committing Shatter early. Wow.
Wow. I mean, hey, you'd miss every shot you don't take, but you also miss the shot that you did take, so a lot more has to be committed here to save the Reinhardt from getting punished into the backline. Ebon, as a matter of fact, went really low themselves, and yeah, this is Catboy Cafe. They had to commit both the rally and the Transcendence there just to stay up, but all things considered, it was a worthy trade out and an even better one with them coming on top of this fight.
They was worth it. It was worth it to get in here and stall this out. Monsoon didn't commit as many ultimates as you might have wanted. You have still both of those support ultimates up. So if they're tracking well, I mean, they have the tools. They have grab, they have bomb, Shatter's there. They just need to kind of stagger these out versus these support ultimates, and Monsoon needs to get not caught in the trap of overlapping these. If they can do that, they should be able to weather the storm.
They gotta be super careful, but they're quite literally caught in a trap that they can't escape from. Looking face to face with a tactical nuke. It's enough to save everybody but the sound barrier caster themselves. You gotta question, is this worth really committing into more for Monsoon? The answer is yes, because you're able to get Jacoby and Cyan really punished for being out of position there and rushing with only the supports. Excuse me, back to the objective. Sound barrier to keep them up just for now, because this is Monsoon. They have more players at this current time, and You can tell that they want to push the point. Cafe, they're fighting for that percentage just to get every little bit that they can up right now. And it's
great
doesn't
charge.
look like enough to put the... It isn't enough, though, because Jacoby is in the back line. What in the world is this Reinhardt doing? I can tell that Jacoby doesn't play Reinhardt the traditional way, and you know what? It did just so good for Catboy Cafe right there.
Look, you don't need to play Ryan traditionally. That hurts you in this GOATS meta. You want an aggressive
Exactly.
Ryan. Ryan is one of your key damage and defenses here. So they'll build this up to 60%. They'll have only the Shatter going into this. They'll have Graviton later. Monsoon on the other side does have a trance, so watch for that trance to shut out probably this most aggressive point.
You want to be able to shut it out. Ooh, their Shatter's down, which, I mean, you didn't get as much value out of it just because you had to block for the self-destruct. So in the end, it's going to turn out to be an even trade, but this is one Monsoon. They're going to have the support resources for it, and especially if they get Cyan down here before that Graviton Surge comes out. It's going to be big, but in the end, you're just going to have to commit both of them to keep yourselves up through the time. It's going to be your final fight here, assuming this flip is able to come through. Monsoon turning the tide back into their favor, but they're going to have a decent amount of time to hold this objective once the dust settles.
Yeah, I don't think you're mad about that if you're Catboy Cafe, though. I think at this point, you know you're one fight off, and that's kind of all you really need. Monsoon has to win at least 2 going into this, and you've gotten quite a few resources out of them. They'll have Graviton Surge and Self-Destruct with Rally, so it's just going to be a couple slow. You know, this might come to 99, but if you're Catboy Cafe, you play to your ultimates, and you'll eventually get there.
That's what you need to do in such a dependent game on these ultimates, and the fact that Ivan goes down before any of those come out. This is Catboy Cafe, Sloman, hammer swinging around in the case of Jacoby. Yeah, they just had the resources here, so they saved him up, and they were able to use him properly. Monsoon, they waited too long. They were finally found themselves reacting instead of initiating, and here they are, unable to get a full return onto this objective. Catboy Cafe coming from behind to take map 1.
Somewhere in the world, Bumper is smiling because Reinhardt just went deep into the back line and swung hammer while holding W, and that's essentially GOATS in a lot of ways. Is how deep and how much can you punish that main tank that is going in there? How much can your Reinhardt swing versus keeping their shield up? And also, additionally, similarly, because of this play, just like this play, how much can your Brigitte get in there and flail as well? Those are 2 of your more impressive damage pieces that come out, the Zarya being the 3rd, but realistically, these GOATS comps, like you've kind of alluded to, it comes down to aggression. It comes down to, are you making the initiations? Are you committing those ultimates first? And you'll see it. Watch these replays, because you'll see kind of where these moments happen, who takes the initiation, who kind of sets these various moments, and these pieces into play, and those teams tend to be the winners here. That all said, I mean, this is a pretty close matchup, all things considered. Both these teams really trying to get a feel in these early round robin segments to how this patch and how this, old format really does play.
There's a lot of different things in play. I mean, it's hard to always tell. I mean, your health bars are different. How do you know how low you are? What's really a good judgment tool there? That can be hard to understand.
Yeah.
What about when all of these slow motion things come into play? It can be kind of trippy. I'm not going to lie. It's tripped me up a couple times. And I see you over there. You probably feel the same thing that I'm feeling right now.
Yeah, because so if you watch that, if you've been watching the Reinhardts in this, you'll notice their health bar says 1,000. And if you've read the patch notes, and if you haven't, you're watching and you're just kind of like, what is going on? Yeah, Reinhardt has 1,000 HP in this mode, but he's taking double damage. And that is so hard to manage in your own mental when you're going, oh, I have 1,000. You're not thinking about the double damage. You might just be like, oh, I'm at 600, 800 HP. I'm fine to go in. So those kinds of small decisions that unfortunately we just kind of have to bear with really do change this up. But we will be going to, the one thing that you can be certain of is we will go to a place that every GOATS player loves to go.
Oh, yeah. We were talking a little bit earlier with Ray, and every single team has picked King's
It's going to go.
Every single one. We've had it so far.
No. Number 2 is, no. It is Control, and then we go to King's Row.
Yes.
And then we go to push or hybrid or whatever we need to.
Escort.
There's no hybrid. There's no hybrid. We're going to King's Row. There's no reason to go anywhere else. This is the flattest ground, the most even place that GOATS can play. You can play from high ground if you want on that initial point, but there's no reason to. And unless you're playing the Winston variant, there's really just you just want to play King's Row anyways. Everybody scrims it. You're just more comfortable here.
This is the thing that it's going to make or break a team right now. I have a feeling, looking at kind of how that map ended on Lijiang Tower, you talked about how are you initiating? Who is starting these fights? Who has the aggression? Jacoby has the aggression, people. Yeah. Jacoby has their aggression. And
There's-
that has been such a huge thing for Catboy Cafe here. And whether that is the fact that they're not used to playing Reinhardt and these health bars are no bother to them at all, Jacoby doesn't seem to have regard for her life at all. Or it's even just the trust in the backline to keep her up, because right now, this is Catboy Cafe. They're taking the aggressive initiative, and you saw how much that Monsoon began to struggle as soon as that started to work.
Yeah, you've nailed it. There's nothing more dangerous than a Reinhardt that doesn't understand how the S key works, and Jacoby has really come into that. I'm very curious to see if any of these changes come in. You know, you can bring in the Winston if you want. There's still an Ana, there's a Moira on the bench, and it doesn't seem like either of these teams will be making those changes. But I do wonder if at some point you do just adopt the Ana. Like at some point, you know, it's match point right now for Catboy Cafe. They could take their round. Maybe you give it a shot. Maybe everybody's just kind of playing the safety of get this Discord onto the Reinhardt and we'll win that way. Maybe there's something to that, but there's something to be said for canceling out Trance with an anti-nade. If you can catch them in a grab, that's an option, but not an option we'll see here. Looks like they'll play a little bit early. And this choke is going to be the most important point that needs to get controlled. Once you get past this choke, if you are Catboy Cafe, like the point is basically yours. So really pushing this initial choke is going to be difficult.
This is where it needs to be held. And Monsoon, they're hanging around the statue right now, which Catboy Cafe, they're gonna go through the window here. I like this. All right,
good play.
No, they're not even gonna take it yet.
They're gonna rotate all the way around.
But here's the thing, Monsoon want to collapse. They knew it. But they started this slight little high ground here. Problem is, you didn't get your full team in, so Catboy Cafe are just gonna get run over by the freight train that is Cranky Guy and sent back to spawn. I like the creativity.
Yeah.
Just not there.
Yeah, the execution a little bit off. It was a great idea to use those rotations, get to high ground, and really take the fight where you want it, trying to set the pace here, but it is hard. You have to keep this full six together, and sometimes it may just be easier to just run straight at them. Now you fed Monsoon a bit more ult charge. Cranky Guy already onto that shatter. As long as it catches somebody, they have a win con in play.
It's got to do something here, but
Sarah.
Yeah, they can't. I mean, if somebody just gets caught out like that, you said it, so now they're just trapped. Like, what do you even do at this point? You just got to drop and get out.
Yep.
And try not to feed if you can, but at this point, you've lost Sarah. You don't want to push in, and this just feeds Monsoon's ability to win more fights.
Yeah, I do think that if you are Catboy Cafe, it doesn't hurt to consider maybe something like a Winston just to try to get past this initial choke and get everybody in. Especially with Monsoon having three, almost 4 or 5 ultimates up, you are playing from the deficit here.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you saw that coming a mile away. I mean, the Lucio just got beaten up in the corner. I mean, Zephyr is dangerous on the Brigitte. Ben knew that, and Catboy Cafe, they have not been able to get anywhere near their ultimate so far until now. Halfway through the game, which is ridiculous in GOATS.
Yeah, and considering they only spent 2 ultimates to win that, they still have the other 4 up for Monsoon. In a great position. Catboy Cafe coming into all of theirs, though. So, I mean, they'll have all of the tank ultimates plus the rally. So, all tanks online means that they should be able to play aggressively and pull out all of the defensives.
In theory, if this ends up going their way here. Monsoon, they gotta be the ones to initiate. They get hit with the Earth Shatter first, so they lose their Reinhardt as all those support ults come in. This has been their greatest weakness so far. Catboy Cafe is exploiting it to the max. They've made it through that choke. This is that break point that we've been talking about. Once you make it onto the point, it is near impossible for Monsoon to get themselves back out, even have a chance about taking it back. The Reinhardt there has no intention of pushing on up. Catboy Cafe got it under locks.
It took them a while, but they got it there, so yeah, I think, like I said, you're fine with that. It did take you a while to build up those ultimates, but you did spend and get all of them out of Monsoon to try to hold that. You'll go into this with 3 minutes and an advantage. I mean, you have the Transcendence up, just save it until you really need it. You don't have an offensive tool other than maybe stalling a little bit and getting your Zarya high charge. Cyan is coming into Graviton Surge, so the dueling grabs means that Scribble's Bomb is the difference maker here. They have to find something with it.
And we've seen some huge self-destruct combos come out before, but not this time. Scribbles doesn't even get a chance to remax, so both that Transcendence and Grab used after the fact they've lost the Diva. I do kind of cringe internally at that one because Monsoon, they're just coming on in and taking advantage of some interesting communication. I mean, even that Earth Shatter coming in. The one thing that I will say about that is it is helpful because these trades are miles away. Monsoon, they're going on practically a marathon to get out the point. So Cafe still gonna get space.
Yeah, they'll get the space, and that's all they need is just to get the cart rolling here. And again, pulling out these very high-value ultimates, such as the Graviton Surge, is key. Now Zeno is up and ready to raid boss. They'll have a sound barrier at their back for Catboy Cafe, so they should keep rolling. They just need to not get caught in this Graviton Surge. And they have to fight the other raid boss on the other side. So Graviton Surge, the difference maker from Eben here, has to catch at least 1 or 2 of these supports to find value.
Yeah, but even then, Sarah gets the Reinhardt out of play, and they still have the Shroud Sound Barrier and Transcendence to hold on to, and only end up using the Sound Barrier, which is big considering the Graviton Surge was utilized in this fight, but too little too late. Oh no, Sarah had the opportunity to save their support comrades, but she just couldn't get there in time, so Cyan just ran down the rest of the team. Oh, Catboy Cafe, they're going to be kicking themselves for that one.
Yeah, unfortunately, just a little bit of a loss. They'll get the space here. Catboy Cafe did manage to hold on to and build a couple more ults though. So I mean, Shatter Bomb's up. They'll have more importantly, they'll have the Trance up for anything on the other side. There's nothing really you need it for. So even just throwing it in to get point is successful. Oh, great stop! Great cancel.
Huge break stun onto that Earth Shatter. There was nobody else that was going to go out. That needed to happen so badly for Monsoon. They got a chance to turn this back around. Iabon, even the Graviton Surge on the point. That will go ahead and do the trick here. Assuming they do end up getting Cyan eventually getting low and focused down. But what's happening here? Monsoon, you should have gotten this by now. All right, there we go.
Yeah,
there we go.
Yeah, a little bit of concern. I also have concern face with that because those cleanups need to come quick. There's a minute and a clock, means there's 1 fight left. Cranky Guy and Zephyr have ultimates up. They should be able to engage quickly. Shatter into rally means that this raid boss can get some damage, and they need to move quickly before that Graviton Surge comes online for Catboy Cafe. If the second Catboy Cafe gets aggressive, they are going to lose this, and the map will go on here.
Catboy Cafe's strength is their aggression, and they've been able to take advantage of that. If they force a reactive grab from Cyan, and after either 53 or Sorton manage to get their defensive ultimates up here, this is going to be huge for them, especially since they don't have to worry about the Earth Shadow. Cranky did that just a little bit earlier than I would like to see. So much time to be able to block that one, and being pinned out into La La Land is going to be tricky. Both Transcendence and Sound Barrier at the same time, too. It's a sticky situation that this team's finding themselves in here. Granted, they are still able to come out on top with Iba narrowly getting that Graviton Surge online. It almost looked like disaster for Monsoon, but they're able to turn that tide at the tail end.
Sortin and 53 have been struggling to really kind of get this. The late Diva Stagger is huge also here on Scribbles. Unfortunately, she'll have the longest back, making this even harder. But, I mean, it's... it's over. It's over. Nope, second that hit Lucio, we're done here. Yeah, we're done here. I was going to say, for Monsoon, like, 53 and Sortin have been utilizing their ultimates so well. The problem is they've been using them so well at the same time. And those instincts are so good.
Yeah.
But they just need to communicate a little bit clearer. But what can I say? It got them the round, and they got them before, too. And that is a crucial breakpoint, especially on King's Row. I think if you're Catboy Cafe, you're a little concerned here because these initial early holds really kind of locked you out. This is a team that understands how to play goats on this map, and you might have to be questioning, how do we get that same hold that they had onto us? We need to keep this choke point in check, and we need to make sure we find an isolation. And I think it may need to come from just Jacoby, just going in and just forcing those errors, getting themselves in between this death ball is going to be so important. So, they have quite a task ahead of them going into this. No changes in. And, I'm really just watching Jacoby here because Jacoby has to kind of be the difference maker to deny a lot of that damage going in. Discord Orb gets through, Lucio heals goes through all these shields. There's nothing these shields are stopping heal-wise, so getting in and forcing the issue is going to be Catboy Cafe's real strength going into this next round.
I was going to say, it was funny that you brought up the idea of, are they going to be able to hold it down? Because that's what we saw in Lijiang Tower, too, is when Catboy Cafe, when they were on Gardens, they just couldn't get back into the point. But once they had it locked down on Control Center, on Night Market, they didn't let go.
Yep.
And I'm thinking this is going to be a much better look from them. No swaps in either the tank or the support department. So just keeping it the exact same as we've been seeing so far. But Catboy Cafe just letting Monsoon through this first choke, forcing them through another one. They got to be able to have these reaction time on speed. Their heads on a swivel here because Cranky Guy is looking for that angle to push in, find that bit of weakness. And so far, after a shield going down, it's going to be a slight holdout in this hotel here.
I mean, that's still half the battle done, though. Well, and now these abilities are coming back online, so the micro is going to be so important to use these abilities later.
Ooh, if you had a Reinhardt, it would be. Now that you don't have a Reinhardt, Catboy Cafe are going to go find you and stomp on you like a tiny little bug. And, yep, you're going to have to go ahead and take another try about it next time and hopefully win this at a point that you're not forced to stick yourself in that situation and hold out for so long.
Yeah, it was, again, it was a good idea to try to burst through and get yourself into that small area. The problem now is that, you know, by the time your abilities and your came back online, Mac was a little split. The D.Va wasn't there to eat a lot of the damage. Now they have control of this, plus 5 ultimates online. Almost 6 means Catboy Cafe has this on lock right here.
Yeah, there's that Graviton Surge pulled out. We've seen this about 1 billion times so far. Classic exchange going through, and guess what?
Oh,
They're
the eat!
kill feed except for a grab eat! Oh, what a huge play from Scribbles, but I don't know if they're gonna be able to push on it here. They have to be able to, now with Zeno going down, Transcendence forced from Sarah. Once that runs out, it's gonna be very tricky for Catboy Cafe to hold on to this objective. Tzia's doing their absolute best to keep themselves at full charge, have that damage and protection for the Reinhardt here, push them back even farther.
I mean, they saved Sarah's late trance, really just saved the day there.
Yep.
There's going to be a quick reaggress with this rally, means that, though, the Monsoon is here with a vengeance.
Yeah, Monsoon is back in, and Sarah, unfortunately, Zenyatta is not the speediest of heroes, so, yep, that's going to be Monsoon walking right on in. Once they touch the point, Catboy Cafe might as well just run away, because you're not getting that back, and you don't want to risk those farther spawns.
Nah, it was still a good hold, though. You got about 2 minutes, but it was great recognition from Monsoon to just say, oh, look, we have closer spawn. We're only down 1, and we know we have ultimate advantage. We know what we pulled out. Let's just go on this. We have the advantage. We have rally. Let's move. And they were rewarded for that decision with 4 minutes, and they still have trance and grab on their own. Nothing in the way. If they move quick, they should be able to take advantage.
Ooh, but they're held up. Earthshatter was down. Most of them are healed up. Just a trade in the support department, but this one is going to be utter chaos until those final couple players are standing up. These trades are ridiculous on both sides, but it comes down to those spawns. So, Monsoon, theirs are right next to him. Catboy, they're way, way far down in the depths of King's Row.
Yeah, like you said, that Zen is only so speedy, and they'll give up the space for now, but, you know, there's still 2 fights left with about 3 minutes on the clock. Monsoon, their ult bake is only that sound barrier and shatter here, so really more defensive versus Catboy Cafe. Catboy is going to have 5 up, meaning they should be able to aggress here with this Brig, and they should win this out.
This is Catboy's fight to lose, but for once, it's actually Cranky Guy with the initiation here. Down on Jacoby, everyone's able to stay alive, and they can rush back in.
Oh, too late.
Support ultimate from Catboy Cafe. That was that ultimate advantage. They were playing a little risky there, I'm not going to lie, but they still had the greater resources in the end.
Yeah, and that was the one thing that'll work in their favor. They still have a few fights to go through, but they did manage to save Graviton Surge, and that is one of the more important ultimates here. Yeah. Evan is a little bit behind, so Catboy Cafe is going to play aggressively and try to catch someone out here. They have no support ultimates up here. They have to win and play aggressively, because the longer this goes on, Monsoon will get theirs and they'll win the fight.
This is just something that you got to make these go quick. You really do.
You have to push.
When you don't have the resources like this, you got to be the ones that initiate. Don't let Cranky Guy Earthshatter you this time, or even walk into you, because Catboy Cafe, you don't got the tools to win.
Oh, the E!
Yeah, that's the only thing you had going for you. Uh-oh. This ain't looking too good, but let's
The counter
wait a minute. They might still be in this here, because Monsoon, they just lost everything themselves here. The only thing they're banking on is a rally and a self-destruct right now, which is enough to take out the main tank line here. Yeah, Monsoon, they're going to roll on in for this. It was tough luck for Catboy Cafe. Didn't expect them to have a good chance at winning this one. They didn't, but now they got to get back fast.
Yeah, this is one last fight. They will make it in time. The question mark here is what's going to happen. It's going to have to be this D.Va ult. It's the only thing they have. It's going to have to push it onto the cart and scatter. Monsoon managed to save 2 of their 3 support ultimates, and they'll have advantage, means Zephyr is going to go to town. You need to make sure Zephyr gets punished immediately.
And self-destruct, if you can get somebody out here, that would be big, but that's just the Zorio bubbles force out. Yeah, you got this tempo, but you don't have Sarah. You needed Sarah in the fight. The Transcendence needed to be there, because Avon's inching closer and closer to this Graviton Surge, which is going to be the nail in the coffin for Catboy Cafe here on King's Row. We are going all the way to map number 3 to decide this series.
Yeah, the veterans of the GOATs. I mean, you took the GOATs to the GOAT map, and they knew exactly what they wanted to do. Not going to let this go down early. And, you know, these Brigittas really have been shining. You can really see it through the team play. Really just making sure that that this kind of more DPS-y Brigitte gets in the backline and is able to swing does so much. But we do get an escort. An escort is a bit of an interesting piece for Goats. You have to maintain cart, and a lot of these maps do tend to be more vertical. So when we, like, where do you want to go if you're Goats? Like, you don't want to go Dorado. You don't really want to go to a lot of these places. Havana strikes me as arguably the best place to go. But, I mean, both of these Ghost teams proving very capable at making isolations just like that and making value of these ultimates.
And I do wonder if Capo Cafe were able to get their act together a little bit quicker on that first point, if they could have had a chance at pushing that one farther.
Yeah.
And I do think that was just something they really struggled with. Once they figured it out, they weren't out of the woods and really never got out at any point during that series. This was just a Goats map with a Goats team playing it and knowing what to do.
The double eat there is the most Goats thing I think we could have seen tonight. And I really do think that is also something that, when you're looking at Goats, you really do have to watch the divas. Like, I'm calling out, the Zarya, the Reinhardt, the Brigitte as big damage dealers. But the diva is one of the more defensive pieces that you can't be slacking. You really do, like you said, have to keep your head on a swivel to know, where is the Zarya? Where is all this damage coming from? What can I eat? And where does my coverage need to be? There isn't much you get out of the diva, but when the diva makes those important plays like eating the Graviton Surge, it is kind of almost something you have to be able to do. It's a non-negotiable.
It just needs to happen. I mean, realistically, the diva is your last line of defense. When you look at it, if you can get through the Reinhardt, you got a Zarya. If you get through the Zarya, you got a diva, and suddenly it's not looking too good for you because Reinhardt and Zarya aren't diva's best friends, especially when you're playing on opposite teams. So, yeah, that's kind of the interesting pieces of how Goats work together like that. I also want to throw in Zenyatta. We haven't talked about Zenyatta.
Yeah.
We saw a lot from 53 and Sarah there at various points throughout that series. And, we've talked about for so long about how good of an ability Discord Orb is. How about when you just stick it on a tank? We've seen it primarily onto these Reinhardts here. And when that does happen, their health just falls. Like, it doesn't even, you don't even get the full numbers at this point. It's just 1,000 and suddenly you find yourself at like 200. You're like, oh my gosh, what just happened?
It looks like, though, Tiny, I was correct. We are going to be going over to Havana. And that makes the most sense to me. Of the escort maps, A is pretty flat. Brewery only has a couple high grounds that you really do want to contest. And, I mean, that castle, if you're going to siege, you're going to use the battering ram that is Goats. So it all checks out here. I think the question mark is now with the notion that the forward hold is kind of the standard. I'm very interested to see how that applies to this Goats meta. Back in the day, you might not have taken that. You might have played first corner, but now these teams are going to be playing at spawn doors. There's no May to necessarily create isolations. Really going to make these, kind of individual isolations that these teams are trying to find a lot more difficult and also a lot more valuable.
It's just the standards right now. And I mean, you're right. I don't know if I've ever seen this before. With a spawn hold. I mean, it was probably happened a long time ago, but I got into Overwatch late compared to
we never had Havana for Goats.
I haven't had this experience. I joined well after Rolock and well after Sigma was in the game. So actually right around when Echo was released. So
goodness.
Yeah.
Well, as the boomer in the room, we didn't have Havana, so this was not if my memory serves me correctly, we didn't have Havana, so this is actually like a newer thing we're dealing with here. No changes across that. We're still going to take the Zenyatas, and again, I want to re-echo what you said because the Zenyatta is, an interesting choice. There's so much value to be had from Trance just keeping your team up, but it is something that Diva can eat. Those orbs are a delicious treat, and it's still something that can be easily exploited. Zen is the most exploited part of this. It will be the close hold though. So again, keeping the Zenyatta safe is going to be so important to keeping these full holds going.
And that's the most difficult part because you got to figure out where are you going to position that player, and we don't get to find out just yet.
They're off screen. They're off screen somewhere. Look, they're safely off screen.
They are. Oh wait, I see a tiny glimpse of a blurred 53 like in the back left corner there somewhere. So hopefully they're able to stay safe. Good if Capo Cafe kind of sees that come through. Not gonna be too pretty for that peaceful Omnic. Good news is we'll get to go right back in and see how this actually unfolds with the spawn hold being in play.
Yeah. Again, keeping the Zen safe. This is like honestly, this is probably the most optimal thing you can do is just keep them as far back. They don't need to be in the fray, and Cranky Guy will just take advantage of that. There's that Discord putting in so much work, and the isolation that Ryan is surrounded.
Yeah. We mentioned the Discord a lot, but what about just the straight up damage that Zenyatta can do? 53 just stat in the backline. Look how much ult charge they managed to build up just off that alone.
Yeah, I do wonder if maybe this is one of those cases where you swap into something like the Moira or something that's going to give you just like a little bit more raw healing or damage, especially when that Shatter comes out. Ooh.
I think it only landed onto Parole, though, who is way back in the spawn and probably like, what just happened? I mean, they're up to fight another day. The rally's up and running for Catboy Cafe. Monsoon, they just gotta hold on until they get all of their ultimates up. They're like, I count 4 check marks on the board right now. 1 less to be coming through. Supports, now they're coming up for Catboy Cafe, but losing Sarah, that's gonna be tricky because you really wanted to have that transcendence here with Ebon firing on all cylinders, managing to move into the backline, and that is gonna spell the end of this spawn hold. If Catboy Cafe didn't decide to use a lot of their tools towards the end here, coming up with absolutely nothing from it. At least they're getting the trades out in terms of some of these resources, but Monsoon, they just gotta backpedal and reset this one out here.
They commit grab though?
That's a question in my mind too, and the fact that they don't gain anything. They in fact lose Zero from it. The aggression can come back, but a little too much. Cranky Guy didn't realize that, oh yeah, I don't have all 3 of my supports with me. So in the end, that's just going to be punished, and a lot of over-resources you could argue from both sides, but it really ends up canceling each other out.
I think the initial thing that really started making some question marks in my head was Monsoon gave up point with 5 up. You still should have stayed. The cart shouldn't have moved. You should have just died on cart and stalled it as long as you can, get your full 6 together. Because now they're a little bit behind and staggered, plus they're out of, they're just out of ultimates. They have self-destruct and shatter. They'll have trance coming up. They should be able to hold this, but they are coming from behind.
No, they're coming straight from in and losing parole. Yeah, I mean, you don't really have an escape plan now, so try your best to stick around this fight while you can. You got that extra health from the rally, which is sure necessary as Jacoby was able to block the shatter. Actually got one down on their own onto Cranky Guy. You go ahead and take those if you're Catboy Cafe, but if you lose another support here, you're going to be in some deep trouble if this doesn't end shortly. Monsoon, they're struggling to get a regroup on themselves. Look how much that they've been split. Zephyr was way off in the backline way before that charge even came into play, so Catboy Cafe, they're pushing that advantage. Graviton Surge is out, knowing that there's nothing really available to counteract it. This should be a first point capture from them, especially with Cranky Guy getting chased down.
Yeah, Cranky just a little bit out of position there, caught across map trying to hold there. These fights have been very scrappy. It's very interesting to see someone, typically GOATS requires a lot of discipline when it comes to if we are down 1, we don't commit ults, we just save everything and we plan for next fight. These teams are willing, and even now, while this point is still opening, they're still pushing fights. They want to just deny the ability to regroup and get to a full 6. Ooh. And Sarah, again, another opening pick. She has unfortunately been falling so early, and that has just forced them to regroup all the time.
You gotta protect the Zenyatta. We said it so much at the beginning of the map. I hate to tell you this. This also transfers to point number 2 here. You gotta be protecting Sarah up in this fight because Monsoon, I mean, they just have the grab. They got everything to come out. You don't have that first healing really available here. So Jacoby's gonna fall and the rest of Catboy Cafe along with her.
Kudos to Monsoon for not committing any more ultimates than they needed to. They did commit rally, but it was a bit necessary at that point. Catboy Cafe is gonna have to. They'll learn the hard way. They need a full 6 to go forward here. The good thing for them is that they will have 4 of their ultimates online. They are missing that important sound barrier, but they don't have the opposing graviton surge. So the aggressive tools should lead in their favor. They just have to get through all of this first.
In theory, if they're able to get the engage here, it just depends how much initiation you got. Both Earth Shadows were actually stunned almost simultaneously here. Catboy Cafe, though, this is their time to shine. They have all of these extra resources to pull out, and they grab Zephyr. Perfect pick to be able to pull on through, but here we go again. You lose a player. Sorton still wants to keep their team in this fight. We're continuing to commit these resources because Monsoon feel that it is winnable, but if the Graviton Surge doesn't come up with anything, that is where I'm like, all right, you need to stop where you've already started because Monsoon, not only did you just commit into a losing fight, but now you just set yourselves up to lose another one afterwards.
Yeah, this is, again, that discipline of just knowing, all right, we are, we're down 1. Let's save ults. Let's not overcommit. It's not always winnable. And, the good thing for them is that both teams felt it was winnable and committed a bunch. Catboy Cafe does have Rally up, which is the only defensive ultimate, and I'm going to call it a defensive ultimate here. Coming up, there is Jacoby Shatter. They have to come up huge with it. There's nothing in the way. If they land it, they should be able to create an isolation.
They gotta be able to create it soon. Monsoon, they're trying to run away from Catboy Cafe, get the rotation that they want so they don't have to burn all of their resources on an engage alone. This is kind of an interesting area where the fight's being taken, though. I mean, Monsoon rotated all the way back to this little high ground area, hoping to get a drop in, which eventually they'll do. And this is actually kind of good because Catboy Cafe, their backs are against the wall, but that's okay for them because they completely forgot to protect their Zenyatta. Monsoon, any hopes of defending against Sion's grab are gone, as well as keeping Avon alive. The initiation just wasn't there. They took too long. Monsoon, they just got read like a playbook. Catboy Cafe hung out on the cart, waited just to make a move, and here they are right now on top of another one, and a lot of that had to do with how the last fight ended and Catboy Cafe's ability to carry it forward.
We shouted out Catboy Cafe's aggressiveness in the previous rounds, and that continues to be something that works in their favor. They keep forcing these fights a little bit earlier, keep forcing Monsoon to take these not as a full 6, and that works. When they can keep this aggressive tempo and push up, you can see how, they're already at bridge. They're taking all this space and commanding it immediately, and that is working in their favor. The negative here is that they don't have any defensives.
No, they do not. But they are taking all the defenses away from Monsoon.
Oh, no.
The rally
Jacoby.
and that charge. Oh, Jacoby, buddy. That is a moment of all right, I'll give it to you. You're not a Reinhardt player, but...
Yeah. The boop, too.
Oh, I love this game.
Oh, goodness. Yeah. Like you said, not a Reinhardt player, unfortunately, is caught out in the middle of the goats, and you never want to be in the middle of a goat pile. So Monsoon will have their grab up with a bomb. No defensives for either. Zeno is going to send the raid boss in. This should be enough to get him out of spawn.
Not really if there's a Graviton Surge, though. The Graviton Surge doesn't seem to bother them
too much. It gets 2?
It bothers the supports and a D-back onto the Diva. Scribbles from the grave isn't able to do anything, but Mac Tackle, on the other hand, is going to be able to maintain the spawn hold, but Monsoon, regardless, they're going to want to back out and just get that numbers back.
Oh, that is a rare occurrence. That Diva self-destruct should not get value. That should be covered. But there's no sound barrier for it. So that's just the way it is. We are closer to the neutral, though. Sortin is coming up to the sound barrier for Monsoon. And Sarah needs to not get that first pick. She needs to get this trance and keep it. They have the advantage in support ultimates. They need to put that to their advantage and make this fight go longer. It works for them if they can, win and use their ultimates in tandem.
They need to be the ones in control, though. Both Earth Shatters are out. Neither finding too much value. There's the support ultimates, the true tempo base of these fights and how they're going to be unleashed. This is where we're going to see those counters. You'll typically see the sound barrier for the Earth Shatter, the Transcendence in response to that Graviton Surge, which both teams are coming incredibly close to. And or Chaos on the objective. I have never seen it this slow so far. That's probably the longest patch of slowdown I've seen. But that captures the true essence of what this fight is and how Monsoon really took the pace into their own hands, especially in an overtime fight where Catboy Cafe are out of time, out of mileage on this beautiful red truck we have, are going to have to go for an even better defensive hold.
To their credit, you're not really expected to complete Havana anyways. That's a pretty solid distance. You'll take that. Again, like you said, this is, they just kind of ran out of time, ran out of ultimates, but that really does speak to, this GOAT level of play. When it slows down that hard, you can really see kind of those micro things that are happening. Yep. How far away Sarah is trying to position to stay safe. How much those Diva bombs just kind of catch out the lone support who was getting caught out there. And then how important these Graviton Surges have been to finding success. The Rhine was shield up too. Just didn't quite catch it. Yeah, really just speaking to the nuances, the kind of finite micro things that have to happen for these GOATs fights. It's going to be a close hold again, I assume, on the other side for Monsoon. There's no reason not to. 50 is going to pick up the Ana to start.
Ooh.
I like this. I do really like this. Look, if an anti lands, it means the fight's over. I think that this is a good call. Your Ana can sit way back. You can support your Reinhardt. That's a lot more burst healing. And anti-nade, as long as it hits, as long as it doesn't get eaten, it's really going to now put a check onto Scribbles here. I like this adaptation, and I think it should get some value. They just have to kind of push through it. And it probably won't stay as we get past this initial hold. But I do like this adaptation. I think it's the right call.
If it is something that actually does end up sticking, or at least here, I mean, even if you just hit it onto one, and you force bubbles.
It's huge. It's huge.
That is enough. Like, honestly, there's so much value that comes from having just that potential. Notice how the flank is coming through. 53 is going on the back end, hoping to catch him off guard. It hits onto Parole. The follow-up really isn't present, so that's not really the value you wanted to find. It was a one-time shot. You had to go for it. Now we're going back over to that Zenyatta, which apparently works out just fine because you got the Reinhardt out of the battle. Monsoon, they're coming out of this gate with a vengeance. I'm getting very similar vibes to this King's Row where Capital Cafe are struggling to hold on to that aggression.
Yeah. I think it did what it wanted to do. Excuse me. Which is make you look. Pardon me. It really made you look. It really made you stop and go, wait, is that an Ana? Was that a nade? Do we need to keep an eye out for that now? And it really turned a lot of the attention. So just great awareness of knowing when to split. If you can't make an isolation, force them to keep their head looking. And they'll take a very aggressive hold here. One on the card, it's going to be the lone Zenyatta to hold it back. They'll slowly give up the space, and they already built Sound Barrier plus Shatter. So they are in a good spot for Monsoon. This should be an aggressive fight that goes their way. They just need to get past Sound Barrier.
They already got both Sound Mirrors out on the field, but one team is stuck in a grab, and that is currently Catboy Cafe. They have all the tools to kind of keep themselves up in the process. The only issue with it, though, is now that they have everything done, they've used everything earlier, so as these fights continue to go on, it's going to be a struggle, so closing it out now is the name of the game, which Jacoby and the Catboy Cafe squad are able to accomplish with relative ease.
That's what you know, that's the thing that worked for them. They managed to commit enough. They have all their aggressive tank ultimates up. They just have the lone, it's just the trance. It doesn't really stop a lot of that. It'll come out versus grab. They should be able to hold this just if they play aggressively and get past this Graviton Surge. It should be in their order. They just need to not overcommit.
You need to be super careful about that because that is something that Jacoby has started to fall victim to in these past couple of fights, and you need to be cautious of overcommitting in terms of the positioning. Thankfully, this time, Monsoon chose such a interesting path to go through here. It's so narrow that they can't get anything done. Capital Cafe isn't even going to let them out, so the fact that the Transcendence was even used, that's an even better fight win for them.
Oh, that's a net win. You only traded Graviton Surge for Trance and still won that fight. You're very happy with that. Yeah. Monsoon is coming into Sound Barrier now, though, so I mean, Shatter Bomb plus Rally, you just, again, one more thing, you just got to get past Monsoon's defensive. You're in the position to win it otherwise.
Through the defensive, and even this Earth Shatter combo with the self-destructs. Now they're coming up. It's a double kill. Whoa, from the back line too. Catboy Cafe have that one come through, and it's just a perfect time. Look how much time that Monsoon have left to get this done.
Yeah, one fight left. Sortin is going to have that. Check that back, because look at those that use of that windows. They didn't even see it coming.
Yeah.
The Reinhardt wasn't there with shield to catch that. So one last fight. Sarah has their trance up. They should be able to hold this. They just need a last force and to get that grab surge.
Barely able to get on through. Sarah was able to hold on to Transcendence after that last fight, so using it now isn't the biggest deal, but later on we'll have to keep an eye on that. For now, you're all right, because the Earth did the damage, you got the Reinhardt down. Monsoon, they need to back out, because you're only going to have approximately one more shot at this, and you need to make it a good one.
Yeah. Oh, and they commit translate? No. Oh, that's tragic for Monsoon. They don't have anything. This last fight, 30 seconds, they're going to have to regroup quick. There's nothing for them. It's going to be a Sound Barrier against them, and they have to pull it out quick. Unfortunately, we don't know how close Mac Attack actually is due to that bug, but, I mean, Sound Barrier's there. They have an answer in lie. Catboy Cafe is primed to hold this.
Capital Cafe, they got the Sound Barrier to come through. The answer question, Mac Tackle does have it, but in the end, it meant absolutely nothing. His self-destruct didn't come up with much, and yeah, this is going to be Catboy Cafe coming on in, stuck up in a grab, which, I mean, that does a good amount. You go ahead and take those. Eban somehow managed to build one up so quickly by getting into the back line. You needed that hero to come and play for Monsoon.
That's a huge play from Eben, just to come out and catch that grab in time. I mean, they'll get it here. There may be a one last second recontest, but they're going to have to play into this. Rally's up. I mean, all support ultimates up for Monsoon. The fight should go their way either way. It just becomes, can Catboy drain out these resources before the touch hits?
Catboy Cafe, they're getting so much pressure onto them as they're moving out into this objective, which forces a lot of things earlier than they would have liked to have used. I love that initiative from Monsoon, but they need to prove that they can fight through the rest of the battles. The damage coming in, but
oh no!
Oh no! The the tragedy has struck, or rather Scribbles has just drawn all over the page that Monsoon, they thought they had the plan laid out, but Capley Cafe came in last second to clutch it out, taking the second round of the round robin series. What a battle this one was to the very end.
That was a tight game there, and Scribbles just decided, look, I want to win more, and I think that's something that stands out to me, is that the Divas have been the difference makers in all ways, getting the value with those self-destructs. You know, that is kind of one of those fundamental things in GOATs that shouldn't really get value. You shouldn't really get caught up by those self-destructs. Even if it goes up into the air, you know, your Reinhardt should be able to cover that. You should have a sound barrier for that. You should have something for it. So really, these Divas being the difference makers across all of these maps, that has to, you know, we talked about how it's kind of the least, you know, the most defensive piece, really making these defensively used, in this case, ultimates way more aggressive.
And that has just been the tale of how this has worked out. I mean, Capley Cafe, towards the end, they really found themselves kind of in this defense, or more specifically, Scribbles was able to pop off in some key moments that really helped them hold on. But overall, it was a team effort to pull this one through. Monsoon had the ability to show that they have a near expert level understanding of GOATs, but whatever, what's the word I'm thinking of? Outward way that Capley Cafe have found to play this composition managed to work out to them. Yes, it was scrappy. Yeah, it was a little sloppy at times, but it got them that victory, and that is arguably an advantage that they're going to have. They don't play this the traditional way.
Yeah.
They're playing their own game, and teams, they're not quite such as Monsoon, aren't ready for it.
And as we kind of noted earlier, Capley Cafe's playing from an odd position. You know, they're down there in traditional main support. You know, they have a different Rhine player, someone who's not necessarily used to playing from this kind of era. So I think that really does speak to Capley Cafe's, you know, just overall skill and team play to come back and kind of win. Yeah, it was a 2-0. It wasn't the cleanest sweep, but this, I think, is something you can take and kind of carry on. Monsoon is a veteran team, you know, across the CGL GOATS events, and if you can, you know, hang with the vets and hang with these long-time players, I think you're feeling pretty good with yourself, and, you know, even with these kind of, you know, maybe quote handicaps you're dealt with.
You can go ahead and take those if you're Capley Cafe.
Yeah.
I mean, they hit a couple bumps in the road, but the fact they're able to recover and even come out on top is pretty darn good for them. And I'm looking forward to see how that kind of pans out towards the end of the line, because when they play against these teams, like, while Monsoon was very good, had an understanding of GOATs, but there were still some things that they could have fixed pretty easily in terms of how they were ended up playing. And I think once Capley Cafe starts to meet some of those teams, that is where they're going to find their bigger struggles, and suddenly their way of playing isn't going to work out. So that's kind of the main idea of what I want us to continue with down the line of how these teams, are they taking a traditional route? Are they going for something new? All based within the play style, and that is the beauty of only being able to run 6 heroes, is we get to break down this huge micro and macro environment that Overwatch truly allows to be played. I'm here for it. I'm all for the analytical stuff. And good news for you guys, you're going to like it too, because we still have 3 more matches coming up in the round robin series for you tonight. So don't go anywhere. We got more Overwatch GOATs coming up next.
Water is the softest and most yielding substance, yet nothing is better than water for overcoming the hard and rigid, because nothing can compete with it. Lao Tzu.
Name straight, new wave. 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 Yeah. 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 Memories. Memories. Yeah. Memories. Memories. Cash and the ticket is yours. Cash and the ticket is yours. Yo. Cash and the ticket is yours. Cash and the ticket is yours. Cash and the ticket is yours. Yo. Cash and the ticket is yours. Yours.
Our insight here, you get an insight and you know something, but you don't want to say it out loud because you're kind of afraid that it's not going to be really true and it'll spoil the whole thing for you, But when somebody makes you say it, then, and it's true, then it just makes it more beautiful of a thing.
crazy, Malin. I'm not crazy, Malin. I've just been in a very bad mood for 40 years. 40 years.
Carpe diem. Carpe diem.
Got lots of love. 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 Got lots of love.
The reign of the greatest composition of all time to ever hit Overwatch continues here with the CGL GOATS Tournament. I'm Tiny Shiny with SOAV. We had quite an extended break here to get our teams up for round number 3 of the NAPT pool here. And that is because our friends MOVINGRIFT7 had quite the round 2 matchup going. Won a map, drew a map, lost a map, and then finally were able to come back out on top of that map. So they're coming in fresh off of a, I can imagine, stressful series to take on Unemployed and Broke, who are looking to redeem themselves from a previous loss.
Yeah, Moving Rift has quite a lot, and this match is a little bit more important for them. You know, a win here gives them that 2-0 with a bye, and that really secures them as the #1 seed in this little segment of the round robin. But losing to Unemployed and Broke, I mean, that puts them on the cusp. You know, suddenly Unemployed and Broke is also 1-1, and suddenly we have to look at, you know, these different tiebreakers. Suddenly that draw might actually be relevant. So actually quite a bit on the line for Moving Rift, and I mean, considering the pedigree of Moving Rift, we have to assume they are, you know, well equipped to take on the, you know, the Unemployed and Broke, as it were.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, we don't get to see the rosters on the screen this time, but we're able to kind of see them off on our own ends too. Moving Rift, they got some pretty notable names. For example, SK, the absolute Lucio goddess. She is amazing, and I totally expect her to be on the Lucio coming out here, showing off her skills. We have Moving Fish 7 coming in, known for time on both Redbirds and YXL Academy. Great all-rounded player, loved in the Overwatch community. Just to name a few, there are quite a few superstars on this team, and probably a good reason that they're currently 2-0 within the standings right now. They take this third one. They're looking set for tomorrow's playoff bracket. I mean, we look at the other side. We're not nearly as familiar with them, but some faces do ring a bell.
Yeah, I mean, Performance is one that we were talking about behind the scenes. They've been a staple in CGL. We've seen them at some of the other T3 events. And as the team captain, I really do think a lot of the eyes are on them. I think that we're expecting him to really kind of shine either on maybe the Reinhardt or maybe the Brig, kind of depending on where they feel the most comfortable. But I think the other, you know, again, like, it's people who have played this kind of mode and really are, you know, in tune with what needs to happen. You know, maybe that gives them the edge here. And considering where we are going on map 1 this time, this is unfamiliar territory for some GOATS teams.
Okay, this is a bit new, and you know, you also have players that they've started playing this game a little bit later than others. You have some with more experience, or even just playing together as a team. So this is kind of where you're going to see a lot of this variance take place. GOATS not only was relevant a long time ago, but it also took place with 6 players. We've been so used to playing with 5, and sometimes having such big changes like these, and even with the roles alone, is a lot for teams to have that adjustment period. With us being well into that round robin phase, however, we're expecting a lot of those kinks to be ironed out at least a little bit here. Nepal is where we are going to be starting off, and probably on the least GOATSy map that you think about here.
I don't know.
Really?
I mean, this is arguably a pretty strong GOATS map, considering you have plenty of boots available in the death pit. Like, there's 2 angles you can take. You can either hold bridge and try to play towards that, or you can try to contest the point. A lot of teams will want to play out of the that small room in the back there. Teams requesting we play Jotes and the Junker Queen. Absolutely not. No. As the GOATS purist, no, absolutely not. You should be playing Ana and not Zen, but they will opt into the Zens here. Moving Fish is on their known diva, and it looks like we don't see SK in currently, so an interesting change of pace. Performance is on the Zarya as the big DPS carry position. That makes sense.
That does make sense. We have seen Performance, but I made kind of no pun intended when I was starting this, a great performance on multiple heroes, and the Zarya is one of those. You want to put them on there to have this huge carry potential with that extra damage, but with that comes the cost of how are you going to be able to play alongside the rest of your team here. Slow approach to GOATS, I will say. Moving Rift, they got themselves up to this little high ground area that you get. Haven't opted to push up. The point has been unlocked, which they are contesting. Unemployed and Broke are more corralled into a corner, not really doing anything, to be totally honest with you. They're just kind of hanging out, waiting for things to happen, and this is one of those maps, Sanctum, where you rely so much on these rotations, Soev, that the initiation takes so long that Paradox literally built up a sound barrier before a final blow has been caused. Here comes the chaos that we all know and love. On the objective this time, unfolding in our favorite slow motion picture. Unemployed and broke. Lost their diva
slow
out
shatter.
of the tank. The slow shatter.
Oh!
That actually came down lightning fast. The voice line was just there too soon. Graviton Surge is gone. This is Moving Rift. They took it slow, but they were playing the game. They knew to win.
Yeah, they knew that slow approach made sense. They were looking to try to make sure they could get all of their micro abilities up. They needed speed boost. They needed to make sure they could close the gaps. And they were a little bit better positioned. They had that mid control of that upper ground, so they could really just use those angles and those corners. And you can see it with Astron just trying to make sure that they keep these choke points really contained. They will have self-destruct and rally, and that's enough. There's nothing to stop it on the other side.
Ooh, yeah, no, not quite.
Oh, the slow pin!
No, it got so off. Oh, no more pain. This colossal slow pace. Jason, however, their death was rather swift on the other end, but a break for a Reinhardt. You take that Reinhardt pick off any day because Moving Raft, they're going to be constantly on the back pedal here. Time even going for the Graviton Surge. We've talked about committing these ultimates later into the fight, kind of almost beating down on them a little bit, but in this case, that Graviton Surge paid dividends for Moving Rift and their ability to hold the point.
Yeah, the key thing to all this is who can save and use their ultimates later and not also get staggered out like this.
Yeah.
Playing as the full 6 is so important. Jason now having the later spawn means that they'll continue to tick this up and they'll be closer. Gave Moving Fish the chance to get their mech back, and they're just in a good spot. The one thing that does work for Unemployed and Broke though is that they do have Trance, Sound Barrier, and Grab Surge. They have the tools.
Yep.
They have to push aggressively here before Moving Rift can get the rest of these ults.
And there's that Graviton Surge into the wall, playing it safe. I like to see it, but you don't get that same return on your investment there. And Aquatic gets demeched, instantly taken out. Another slow motion shadow that actually ends up getting pinned out of existence. Lava. Oh, they just have not had good luck with their ultimate so far, and it has showed 80% and counting for Moving Rift here, Soeb. There's really been no point that Employed and Broke has been able to break through this unstoppable defense that's been going on right now. Despite all of the resources they've committed when they've been down, they just can't find the clutch factor.
No, and this is not that's the thing, this isn't necessarily a type of gameplay that you can just clutch out of. There are moments for it, but it's not as, big carry as you might think, and you can see it by how Moving Rift is just playing in the spawn. They know they've got this they know they've got this point. They understand that they have the teamwork, and they are just feeling themselves in that, so they'll be rewarded for it. I mean, 100-0. That they never dropped a fight, Tiny. They just this is a team that had, you can tell they played and they have been playing, and they are well into this GOATS meta right now. Oh, great etho from Moving too. That helped a lot.
Oh no. For perhaps that last 4-map series showed them that, you know what, we can kind of play this composition. They've gotten themselves into a rhythm that they can figure out and really work through. But I do want to point this out. Anytime we've seen a control map is we often see some turnarounds here, not necessarily within compositions as like being teased now, but in terms of who is able to take control based on who has that first capture. Huge advantage in this comp, and I guess we're sticking with Moira. All right.
Okay. Look, it's raw damage and raw healing. I don't hate it. You just have to watch your orbs because that diva becomes so much more important. It's a lot more pressure on Moving Fish, and Moving Fish has performed well here so far.
Moving Fish has been amazing, and that's awesome for them to kind of take that advantage early and dispose of everybody but Moving Fish, so you can get through those first couple lines of defense and walk on forwards. That's the huge advantage of having that Moira, is that you have that extra burst of healing coming in.
Yeah, especially in this AoE, as long as everybody plays in the Death Ball, the Moira should be able to build it. The other thing that works in your favor is Cole builds so much faster into this. This was the earliest iteration of GOATS, but if you can get Coalescence, there's plenty of value. Hitting 5, 6, 7, 8 targets is huge, and you'll have that so quick. Look at how quickly Goose builds that up.
Wow, I mean, this is just insane. Lava also got healed up so much faster. Had they had a Zen, Lava would have been dead right there. I mean, this is just something that you need to play for the sake of your team's own playstyle. You got the Coalescence out here, essentially another cooldown to add on. Time Graviton Surge halting slight progress. Astronex just had enough, said bye-bye Paradox. I like you better as a pancake today. Moving Road's going to go ahead and clean this one on up just as a result. And this is going to be a little bit harder now for Unemployed and Broke to use this Moira.
Yeah, they are going to probably retake this high ground, and it's going to be a little bit harder to approach now. They committed most of their ultimates for Unemployed and Brooks. Lava did manage to hang on to that Shatter. I mean, they have the tools. They'll have Sound Barrier and Rally, and that is quite a bit in their favor, but they're missing that very, very important Trance Abyss. Holding on to that burst healing does so much more. Moira's not going to be able to do anything about that. So, I mean, as long as Abyss hits this timing on Trance, they should be able to hold this.
All about the timing here. How are you actually using these abilities out? And, you know, a lot of fireworks to be going off in the midst of time, but it's when these triggers are pulled, the Earth Shatter only lands onto one, which is just enough. Halt the progress for time. Initiate yourself. There are all those support ultimates forced out. Abyss didn't want to use it there. They had to use it just to stay alive. And you know what? This is even worse because time doesn't get any value out of that Graviton Surge. Performance getting closer and closer to one of their own with they basically no counter to this. The Eat came through quite a bit ago. And now we have to worry about Performance who's coming up not only with Chime, but the Graviton Surge, which Abyss no longer has the counter to. We needed that timing to be on spot, but unfortunately it just got forced and there's nothing else that Moving Rift could have done.
Yeah, unfortunately, you know, in the neutral, Unemployed and Broke just came around to their ults faster. Lava now leading that way with their ultimate is going to be the only thing they have. Moving Fish will, you know, again, unfortunately, it's the bug. We'll never know. Maybe they have it up. But, you know, the important thing to all this is that, you know, no support ultimates up for anybody. Everybody's pretty much halfway. Goose should be able to catch up with that Coalescence. So the Reinhardt duel is going to be the most important thing. Whichever Reinhardt can get more value out of the Shatter and collapse on it first is going to be the winner here.
I mean, that early stun onto Astrax put them back so many steps because those support abilities have already been utilized. Goose has simply more burst healing in that regard and has been able to keep their main tank up and fighting. Lava decides now in the slow motion period to use that ultimate, but in the process, fall so low, the follow-up can't be there. I'm not even sure any enemies got stunned throughout that progress. The sustain is absolutely ridiculous, and with Unemployed and Broke coming up with 3 support ultimates of their own, mirrored by Moving Rift, this one is just going to be who uses it first and how are they able to find that value, because usually that later support ultimate is going to be the victor, and in this case that Sound Barrier from Suguru is that difference. Ymitra has fallen on the opposite side, Unemployed and Broke, and managed to come up with at least something in their bank account and push this one through, and they have to because Soab, they're looking down match point here and last fight.
The even more crucial to all this, they kept this off the point and continuing to tick. So now we're in last fight territory here, meaning they have to, you know, there has to be a quick take. The team has to get together really quickly, and they have to deal with the self-destruct coming in. There's nothing, you know, really in between Unemployed and Broke and Aquatic from this self-destruct.
There's that self-destruct. Nobody should die, and nobody does, but now you force both of those bubbles out. That is going to be big on the opposite end. You don't have that cooldown to worry about. The extra layer of protection gone, and it shows. Jason doesn't have anything left in the tank. The point did get flipped over. Lava might as well be better off resetting, but the Coalescence tells me they want to stay alive and engage, but at this point, just back off. Don't use anything else. Do not put yourself through that further pain.
Look, I'm fine with Goose committing this if there's a swap also. Like, that's kind of my thing, is like, you've kind of gotten the value you want out of Coalescence. You're not necessarily going to get anything out of this. You're running out of time. You have probably one fight left. Let's just build in the Zen or an Ana or something that can give us a slight advantage here. You know, you have Sound Barrier, you'll have Grab, you'll have Shatter. The tools are there, but on the opposite side, Rally's up, Sound Barrier's up. You are playing behind in your ultimate toolbox, so you have to find something that gives you the advantage right away.
And it needs to be quick because this is going to be the last fight that we're going to see here that is collaborative on the map of Nepal, at least for Village. Graviton Surge out, self-destruct smack in the middle of the Sound Barrier's land before those giant bombs explode. But now it's about that recovery phase. Who's able to find the value? That one's blocked, but Ymitra is caught out in the crossfire, ends up going down. Huge pick off for Unemployed and Broke, but they've used everything in the tank. Aquatic's got a self-destruct, and that's the only thing anybody in this game has right now. Moving Rift, they've been forced back off the point. They don't have that extra healing. They're trying to
There's the shield
behind Astro next, but they don't have it. The shield is present. Unemployed and Broke, they're just rallying behind, sitting behind good old Rectangle Man to push them on through, carry them through that last percentage of the fight as they're looking to even up this match, take it to a round number 3. This is the turnaround that we're talking about.
Great play. Yeah, this has been I mean, you could see it in the slowdowns. That is not a, hey, that's not a bug. That's a feature, by the way. If you're just jumping in and seeing this, that is a feature. It's to make sure these servers and these players can constantly, keep themselves up and playing. Unfortunately, we're seeing just a little bit too much of the slowdown. So we may just be making a quick change server side just to try to get ourselves a little bit more of a, I don't know, so we're not just kind of hanging and, slow-mo the entire time.
As fun as the slow-mo is, it's like you're watching these things unfold. It's painful. And like we saw that a couple times, especially with Earth Shatters. That's not one that you want to pull out in slow-mo. Like it's so much easier to block, or you see it coming, or you just can't block it because it's so slow. Like you hear the voice line, like, okay, I gotta put my shield up, but suddenly it resumes and you don't have that option anymore. So hopefully the fact that we switched servers is going to help. We'll still be resuming exactly where we started, just hopefully in a better area so nobody's game explodes.
I do wonder now, because I want to talk about this as we're looking in and they're loading into this. I do wonder if we see the well, Abyss has picked up the Moira, but Goose has gone over to the Ana. So now we're getting that rock, paper, scissors that's come out, because now the anti-nade's in play. Now there's a lot less healing. Moving Fish's job just got infinitely harder now, because eating those nades is now has to be huge. Okay, I thought so. We're going to see this swap back to this. Look, I still think the Ana is the correct pick. It forces a lot of pressure out of that. But Goose is favoring the Moira, and if you... Look, they won with it. I can't say anything about that. They won with the Moira. It's working. I think you don't change it.
You know what? If it ain't broke, you don't fix it. And Unemployed and Broke, they already got the broke part down. So, you know what? Don't fix it either. Unemployed and Broke already got to the point. Speaking of themselves, Moving Rifts kind of trying to break in, which is going to be tricky here because, again, they don't got that same burst healing. They're relying on that excess damage and those Discord orbs from Abscess to really allow them to burst down some of these heroes. I mean, Lava already falls really low, but the fact you can heal them up so quickly is going to be huge because Paradox, look at that, already has a sound barrier up in play. The points have been captured, but this fight is far from over. Moving Rifts have everything coming their way, but they don't have backup. 4 players lay down on their black. Huge block from Lava, but not enough for the remainder of Moving Rift here. Second sound barrier now that we're seeing in just this little 10% of Shrine alone, which is utterly ridiculous to say. Every single person has used an ultimate so far, except for Jason. Jason, please use your rally just for the sake of it. Thank you. We've seen 12.
There's all 10. There's all 12.
Thank you, teams. We have seen the true essence of GOATs, the utter chaos that we all know and love so much. I mean, maybe you don't love it if you're Jason, because finally, Unemployed and Broke have lost the one thing that's keeping their motor running. Oh my gosh, the play-by-play in this is absolutely insane, so I don't even know what to say anymore.
Look, I'll tell you this, Abyss is still holding on to Trance Tiny. It's come back in. That is going to be the difference maker. There's enough to live, and that is way more support than Unemployed and Broke has. If they'll send it and they'll get the value, they can win it.
Physically out of breath, oh my gosh.
Pass it, Tiny, let me talk, please, I beg you.
Let's Moving Rift. Give me a break. Thank you, Moving Rift, for doing something.
Just let me clean it up after we get the 11th ult. It's fine, I promise, because I mean, Abyss have finally got that trance built up. That was the 12th ultimate we were looking for, and that was the key to getting it in their favor. But it got to 50%. Unemployed and Broke now coming in with 2 support ultimates plus 2 tank ultimates means that they are in a great position. They have to get past Ymitra's rally, though. A lot more aggression out of Moving Rift. But, I mean, Moving Rift capped the point there, so now they are in that power position.
They have the power position, but they're also set up to face against 6 ultimates right now. Make it 5! Performance doesn't get 1 anymore. Too bad. Moving Fish ate your cookie. Moving back in to the actual engagement. Chime has better luck with their own Graviton Surge. Performance goes down. This is Moving Rift coming out on top. The sound barrier was way too late there to have anything done. This is the killer part of not having a Zenyatta in fights like that.
Yeah. It really just is, the difference maker between Discord Orb and that. And you can see a little bit of the BM there. I mean, yeah, Performance not only had their grab eaten, but then also got self-destructed on, and that's a feels bad. That's a mental break there. So Moving Rift will get the space and get back. They do have Trance, so they have an answer to most of this. But Chime down means that this is a fight that's behind.
Chime had the bubble too. It was just way too early to make it even count. Moving Rift, guess what? They got the Transcendence. It's essentially an extra life in this competition. Get full health bars, everything's up and okay. So this is the point that I'm glad to see Goose move back over to that Zenyatta. They need something different now.
Yeah, I agree. And Goose building Trance incredibly quickly to that too. Yeah, it's just the difference. Discord Orb just makes so much of your tank matchup just different. Aquatic will just make a quick swap to get back to the Diva, and that makes sense here. It's going to be last fight here. Moving Rift coming into 5, and Unemployed and Broke will have all 3 of their support ultimates. So, I mean, longer fight favors Moving Rift. The Unemployed need to collapse this now.
They gotta go in, but the self-destructs make that even difficult. Forces Transcendence and gets Jason out of the fight. So many things thrown out of balance, off tempo, and if they recover from this, I am gonna be impressed right now, because this is just something that this should not happen. You got a sound barrier, but that is it. They're close to taking the point, amazingly enough. Lava has an Earth Shatter built up online, ready to go in, and they get the flip. What just happened? Moving Rift, this was your fight, and now they're laid down on their back. Sound barrier is okay. They got the extra sustain. Little blip in the system, but now we get to watch everything unfold in slow motion once again as Moving Rift have the extra power. You said it before, if Employed and Broke, they don't make this snappy. This is 100% going the other direction. The way of the red team is where it goes here on Nepal. They're going to get that last flip. No touch really to be seen. Lava is going to get lasered down on the approach. What a chaotic way to start out this third round.
Moving Rift really don't make these matches easy. They had to go and fight past a draw in the first round, and they are making this first round go to 3 here. And we were kind of looking at the question mark. You have the choices of flipping in the Moira or the Ana or things like that. And I think this actually is just a great example of why Zen was one of the preferred choices going into a lot of the middle, at least, of GOATS before we kind of snuck in Sombra and kind of changed things up. But Zen is really kind of this key piece. Like that kind of flex support difference maker really shows, especially for Abyss, who has put on quite the clinic from that Zenyatta. Those trances have been timely, they have been exactly when they needed to be, and they have been the last ultimates committed into fights, and that is exactly what you want from your Zenyatta player.
It's been huge, the amount of impact that Abyss has. I said it before, it's like a second life. I mean, everyone gets their full health back. You're basically resetting the fight. It's enough time to get your cooldowns back online. You don't have to worry about it. And that is such an advantage, that if you're not winning these fights quickly with the Moira, you're on a limited resource gain. You don't have the option to continue. If these go long, suddenly you don't have healing. The Coalescence doesn't do nearly as much as a Transcendence does in this scenario. That's kind of it. It worked for a little bit, but eventually, Unemployed and Broke, they ran out of options. Moving Rift just like, you know what? If you don't have this defensive ultimate, we're going to make these fights last, and you're not going to like them. They certainly didn't. So let's get ready for map 2, or I was going to say hybrid, but King's Row. Let's get ready for King's Row, everybody.
Let's just get Tiny. Thank you. You've read my mind. Let's just get ready for King's Row, because it's probably going to be that. And I do want to jump back because, like we said, this Zenyatta is so important. You have to bring one of your own, or you have to bring the Ana, because the other option you have, and it is arguably a little bit more risky in some ways, is bringing in the Ana and playing for anti-nade to make sure those hit. Yeah, it requires a lot more, play out of your Ana, but it also requires your opposing D.Va to keep a lot more in check. So, the question mark to me is, do they stick with this Moira? Goose obviously favored it, they found a bit of success. I can't really be too mad at it. They found the success they were looking for on it, but I do think that this may be a thing that haunts them. Something like a small choice like that could be something that costs you a round robin, like moving out of round robin here. And to nobody's surprise, Tiny, where are we going?
King's Row, here we come. We know who's surprised. Absolutely not me. Nobody in this room should be. If you are, I'm sorry you haven't seen GOATS before. That is the only way that is possible. This is the map that Moving Rift, they can either come back out here, run with the Zenyatta, continue with that aggression that they've been showing out. I have pretty good confidence that they can win this. Unemployed, they can either pull it together, stick with one thing, and start to look more cohesive, or they could try something interesting and new out of left field. Like you said, that Ana, many risks to play with it, but also with high risk comes high reward in this scenario. So a lot of things to keep in mind when you're heading into this map, being on match point, and even with the potential of Unemployed and Broke being knocked out of the tournament. They've lost their last match. If they go 0-2 here, that might as well be it for them.
Yeah, and you know what? Speaking to that, just bring in the Winston. Just bring in, bring in your nonsense picks. Let's just bring the monkey goats. Let's just, you have high grounds to control. If you're Unemployed and Broke, you really don't have anything to lose. Not that your Reinhardt's been playing bad. I don't believe so. But I do think that, you're already playing the Moira. Let's throw another wrench in this. Maybe you catch them off guard with it. The other thing I do want to shout out there, though, is Performance, who we were kind of highlighting as, the captain, is one of the player. On that, Zarya has looked good. but just constantly being found out by moving fish. And I think that this is the other thing that I was considering. Maybe you just make a swap. Maybe you move performance over to the Reinhardt or over to the Brig or over to something where you can allow that kind of expertise to really shine and be a leader. Your leaders and shot callers in this comp are your Rhine and your Lucio. And I do think that that is where you might want to see your captain maybe. So maybe a role swap wouldn't be a bad idea if you're not going to just throw everything into the wind and play Winston on it or something.
Something clearly didn't work there, and time to fix it, because if you keep running the same thing over and over again, expecting the same results, that's quite literally the definition of insanity, or a different result. There we go. See, I can talk today. In that fact, though, unemployed and broke, this is their chance to kind of shake things up. It's King's Row. We all know it. You all love it. There should not be any surprises heading into this map. It is rather textbook in terms of how everything should come out to perform. And now, if you're seeing the same thing I am over there, Soav, which I'm assuming you are, judging by the noises you're making, you predicted this perfectly.
Yeah, it looks like we will see a role swap. Goose is going to go over into the tank. Performance is going to go into support, which I don't know what that... I don't know what that actually tells us. It tells us that performance, they're trying to put their resources somewhere. Yeah. What is performance going to pick up?
I think that's like the spot where the Zenyatta usually is. So that could be the potential for Zenyatta, Moira, or Ana, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so, but I could see performance being like, guys, let me carry on Zen. Let me just get Discord orbs out here, because the other part to making this comp successful with a Zen is making sure your Discord orbs get followed up on. And if it's on the Rhine, that's time to collapse. So your captain calling that out and calling out a good Discord orb may be the key factor to their success on King's Row here. And I really want to see that.
This is the change that you need, because honestly, it looks a little sloppy for unemployed and broke at times. And a lot of that can often be rooted down to that communication. How are you shot calling right now? That's probably the most important thing about GOATS. We talk so much about the micro, the macro play. How are these cooldowns being used? How are they managed? Where are you rotating? That all starts from communication. Are you talking to each other at all? Like, to be honest with you, do you have a person that's able to kind of lead you through that battle? I'm literally teaching teenagers about leadership right now. That is my job. And I can tell you that if everybody is talking at once, it doesn't get you anywhere. The amount of times that I have to tell 12 to 14-year-olds that is kind of crazy. I don't want to have to tell that to a bunch of Overwatch players. You gotta get yourselves on the same page here, and they genuinely have a chance of taking it to Moving Rift. It's not like that they were shut out in Nepal either.
No. That's the other thing, is they weren't, like you said, they weren't shut out. They were actually in a pretty good spot. They took one, and additionally worth noting, Jason and Paradox. Paradox moved over to the tank as well.
Ooh,
so quite a few changes actually coming in. I believe Paradox is picking up the Zarya role there. Jason holding into, if my counting is correct, that's the Brig spot. Performance in that flex DPS, meaning we'll have a different Lucio player going into this. So I wonder, sometimes that makes a difference too, is, a Lucio that doesn't, is waiting for the speed boost or is waiting for the call. Sometimes like a more passive Lucio in a GOATS comp doesn't cut it. Your Lucio needs to be able to go forward and needs to be able to duel in this comp. So maybe, I like these changes. I think you have nothing to lose, and I really want to see what they come out with, because these are some drastic changes that I think may work in their favor.
Drastic. Yeah, that's a good word for that. I like that. This is totally describes what they're going for right now. Because when you're making this many changes, they understand that something isn't working, and I'm glad that they understand that, because that wasn't so pretty towards the end there. It got a little sloppy, and I like to see that start to be tightened up. But the good question is this really something that is going to work out? Because you could also argue that this could be a risk. When you have players that are swapping roles from support to tank, there's a lot of variance in how you're actually going to play those roles, and I think that they want to take a little bit more time to figure it out, as we are going to go head to a quick break before we start our second map of King's Row. So don't go anywhere. We got plenty of GOATs coming back.
Water is the softest and most yielding substance, yet nothing is better than water for overcoming the hard and rigid, because nothing can compete with it. Lao Tzu.
Name straight, new wave.
You know what? I gotta say, that is the fastest break that we have ever had for a tech pause. And I'm not gonna complain about it, because we have more goats on Kings Row, the goats map. Woohoo! It is time for these teams to show us what they've got. We talked about all the changes that Unemployed and Broke made before the break here. Now we can actually see how those have panned out.
Interesting. So they moved Jason over to the Lucio. Performance has swapped over to the Zen, and Paradoxed, who I believe was playing they were playing in the tank prior, is over on the Brig. I mean, that makes the most sense. Brig is going to be your kind of fourth tank. It's why she was slotted into this. And matching the Zenyatta, I believe, is the correct call here. I'm very interested to see how Performance does against Abyss, though, because that is arguably your heads up, your head-to-head we're looking for. Performance, swapping into this as their captain, that's an important role. So I really want to see how they do on this defense and if these changes pay off.
Performance gotta put on a show. Show us that all of these changes are worth something right now. They're on the defense and already off to a great start. Where even was Yamitra when that happened?
Back in spawn. That was the answer that I got. So they'll have to wait here. And yeah, again, that's pretty good. Lava already well over halfway, already 70% towards that shatter, means that they are looking pretty good to start getting some early aggressive ults here. They need to continue to play aggressively though and find those picks.
They're wanting to move in a little bit more now, but Unemployed and Broke, they got that Earth Shatter, and I'm not entirely sure if Astronex knows it. Honestly, the safest thing to do is assume the other team has an Earth Shatter at all times, which in this case, Chime did not get that assumption under lock. Astronex is able to keep themselves alive, or rather Sugaru is able to do so. Sound Barrier pushing them on through. Now that Moving Grift has touched the point, we expect them to move on through, and you really do hate to see those timings off, because Unemployed and Broke, not only are you not going to have that ultimate, you're not going to have the point. But I can also argue the same for the grab. Unless that is a long stagger for a long spawn, that should not have gone out.
Yeah, I don't know that we needed that. Fight. We've harped on completing kills and cleaning up fights, but I don't think you needed it. There's going to be a contest? No, okay. I was like, wait a minute, what's going on there? Okay. Performance and Abyss both managed to build their trances, but that kind of committed, that a bit of a commitment here is kind of throwing them off. Astro has the Shatter. They're going to send it in. That's 2 to capitalize in, and the fight's already over, even with trance in. That should be nothing more here.
Yeah, you just go ahead, back off. Unemployed and Broke, they got their S keys equipped today. You'll love to see it. Now they need to keep running on those S keys, otherwise they're going to be caught up in a grab that actually was...
They committed grab?
The corner. I mean, they get Transcendence out, which is something, but now you don't have your Diva, and the time by your Ryan's back, you still don't have that full stick, which you would have had you not made that decision to keep going in, and now the tank is down again for Moving Rift. You go ahead and take those. Somehow Unemployed and Broke, whatever they just did worked out.
I mean, this is that kind of thing about goats, right? Is if you overextend too much, you'll get punished, you'll overcommit, and that's kind of what we're seeing here. They'll commit the rally, Yamitra will find one, and I mean, they are still committing into this for Moving Rift.
They're already moving in, and that Earth Shatter didn't come up with anything. I mean, there's no support ultimates on the table for anybody. Sugaru's the closest with that Sound Barrier, but that also means that this initiation, it's got to come through for an Employed and Broke, because otherwise this Sound Barrier is just going to be the end of them. They're not going to have anything to necessarily match that. They're being forced back already. No shield on Lava. That is a significant cooldown wasted that they're just forced to give up the space.
And now this heart continues to move. Suguru has that Sound Barrier, trances are up, and that Sound Barrier is the only difference here, means they have the longer fight for Moving Rift. If they keep this going longer, it only works out for them. They'll close out B here, it looks like, hopefully, after not too long.
Yeah, you know what? You always say that, but we know very well with these teams today. They like to take these things as long as humanly possible. The Graviton Surge, though, they're going to do the complete opposite of that. Good old black hole to end everybody's day on the side of Unemployed and Broke. Send them back home, and hopefully they can scrap something together for a meal, because right now, they're going to have to fight hard for like 5 minutes on the third point of Kings Row.
Ooh, yeah. I mean, to Unemployed and Broke's credit, that was the fastest, team wipe that we've seen in most of the games tonight, so I'll take that. The problem for that is now they are coming into Grav plus Rally plus Bomb, so Performance doesn't have Trance. They have to get value on the Bomb. It's the only way they're going to get past Trance.
There's got to be something here. There's absolutely got to be something.
Oh, no.
Oh, both their shatters. All right. I mean, if everybody lives to see another game except Paradox, you go ahead and take those. Unemployed and Broke, though, they're using a lot. That's the 4th ultimate they're putting into this fight. Despite not having it.
It's big.
It's huge. They actually get 2 from it. That had to come up big from Aquatic, but now you're still in a losing battle. You don't have the numbers here. Aquatic is scrambling to stay alive. Just going to go ahead. See you later another time. Nice loop around the back. You don't see that too much from a lot of players, but in the end, the result is going to be the same. Moving Rift, they're still moving the payload along the last few meters of King's Row here. Chime overextending, though. That's really going to hurt this last bit of progress that they need to get through. The self-destruct grab. Got to come up.
Oh, it goes high.
No, it got stuck. Even Chime.
It's like it's what?
The pay. Wait, what?
How did they get the Reinhardt?
I'm sorry, how? How was that even possible? Where could the Reinhardt have been that hits not only through his shield, but anywhere else? I mean, granted, Astronex goes off the edge, so it doesn't really matter, but that's going to leave me puzzled for a couple days.
I need this code. Where was Lava that happened?
What?
Because there's no world they should have died to that. They still managed to turn that around for Unemployed and Broke, and I mean, that's the kind of best case scenario. Maybe it's a karma, but I mean, they have 3 support ultimates up. They'll have Grab and Shatter. They should be able to hold this out a little bit longer.
Yep, they didn't get much out of the Shatter, but that rally is going to help them move on a little bit forward. You got every defensive tool in the world for this Graviton Surge. The only question left remaining is going to be, how are you able to play into the support ultimates of your opponents? Do you actually have that extra sustain to last out? Moving Rift had that last support ultimate put into play. The self-destruct just a tad bit wide, but it's enough to get the shield out of place. Earthshatter on the ground. Everybody somehow is still standing on their feet with every bit of health remaining, except for Paradox, who's gone down first yet again in this fight. Too many times has that happened for Unemployed and Broke, and this one is going to be even worse because Jason comes in with 2! A boom plus a kill on a Moving Fish! You couldn't ask for more at the end. A contest opportunity wasn't there, though. You didn't have it. I got excited for nothing. Cool, Jason, but too bad your team just couldn't get back in time. We're going to have to move on to further rounds.
We all love the consolation boop, and I think that'll be the, if you take that, it'll be something. Please, let's see some sweet replays, because this is just a Moving Rift highlight reel right now with how quickly they walked through this. I mean, we were questioning about their committal of ultimates, but they found value in everything they committed. Even if they overextended a little bit, they eventually turned it back, and a lot of this comes through just the knowledge and the communication that you can see through the support line. Oh, this self-destruct is beautiful. That was a great turnaround and great place out of Aquatic, but Moving Rift just continues. Oh my gosh, where was the Reinhardt? Oh, he got booped off the side! The explosion booped him off the side! Oh, that's tragic. Oh, that's
one of those moments that you have, you're screaming into your microphone, you're mad about that.
Oh, that's tragic. That's a big F in chat moment, because oh man, that's unfortunate. Performance eyeing the Ana here might just be an opening nade, but we kind of alluded to. Nothing is off the board here, because this is, if you win, you are still in this at least a little bit. If you lose this, you're basically out. So I don't hate the Ana. Like I said, if you can just negate Abyss's Trance, that is a huge weight off the back, and it puts more pressure on a Moving Fish. And I think Moving Fish, considering how well they have been playing, the value they found with their bombs, and they haven't had many eats, but they have been covering down so well, I think Moving Fish could use the pressure to kind of give the rest of your team some ability to go forward and apply pressure elsewhere.
You need to rely a lot on it, though, because Moving Fish has to be able to block everything that Performance does, because there's 0 count. There's no Kiriko in play here, guys. If Performance is able to get anything done on this Ana, for assumably the reason that they were able to put in here, this is a problem. It forces bubbles, it forces cooldowns, and you have so much extra healing to come in. This is a play that came out towards the tail end of GOATS, and you're about to see why. Assuming that they aren't able to back off. Look how split up that Unemployed and Broke is right now. Moving Rift, they're just chilling in the back corner here. They're not afraid of these bio-nades. They have the bubble cooldowns on the timer, and they're not going to last much longer without Paradox, who, for the 3rd fight in a row, has been the one to go down first. It's been a reoccurring issue for this to come in. Moving Fish want to make sure they're able to come out on top of it, but there's still the grab chucked into the backline from both teams. Nano boost out as well. It's not going to do Lava much good, though. They don't have any extra support after that ultimate expires. And when the dust all settles, everything is done. Moving Rift still are in control. Unemployed and Broke have nothing to show for all their camaraderie.
Yeah, and all those ultimates committed. They committed 2 of the 3 support ultimates. They'll have Rally coming in, and Paradox will commit it right away. Abyss is back with Trance, though, and that means they have so much more sustain in a longer fight.
They have the sustain here, but if this ends quickly, or if your performance hits a Bionade, that's it. But you can't lose Paradox like that. How many times has it happened that Paradox just goes down first? Whether it's just in the front line, you're an easy target. As much as Brigidas want to think you're Reinhardt, you're not. You do not have that same health pool.
No, not even in this broken state that we once saw and enjoyed. Some of us enjoyed anyways. It didn't quite work. Performance will give it up and match the Zen now, but they are still playing from behind. That's an aggressive shatter.
I love how Abyss just like full sent it into the spawn right there. No fear in the world. Has the Transcendence. Great timing there just to keep everything done. Paradox is down for seemingly the 10th time this map. Doesn't even have a rally yet so far, which is pretty ridiculous considering how long that this game has gone. We're nearly over halfway through, as a matter of fact. It takes so much for them to push through, so I'm so gosh darn much in their own spawn before they're able to dislodge Moving Rift.
I mean, there's still a chance for a recontest here, Tiny. Performance did build Trance, but I mean, nothing on Moving Rift's side except for Ymitra's rally tells me they're going to make this. They may actually try to run this down though, and I think it's in their best interest. They have nothing to lose except time.
I mean, you'll get some time, but you really got to focus on staying on the payload. A lot of blows exchanged. Earthshatter's down essentially at the same time, forcing a lot of these backup support ultimates, keeping people alive, but Moving Fish and Atrodex going down. Yeah, that's just going to be it. Now, here's the hard part, Soev. You lost the fight here. Now you got long spawns, and all that's going to happen now is just the further staggers.
Yeah, it is, but counterpoint, you did trade out some high-value ultimates there. You got Trance, you got Rally, so I think you're not too mad about that. Your time is a lot speedier, and your 6 is basically already together. So, Unemployed and Broke, I mean, they'll take the space they have it. They'll have this Sound Barrier and this Graviton Surge, so they should have some tools to set everything up. They'll build everything else as the fight goes on. Meanwhile, Moving Rift, I mean, they'll have Trance. And everything else is so far away, so the longer fight here values Unemployed and Broke.
Unemployed and Broke, they're going to have it, especially since they have that Graviton Surge. Nothing really to counter that out if they use it quickly, but Abyss so close to that Transcendence. Not able to pop it, though, right away, just because of that extra Earth Shatter. But everyone seems to be A-okay. You can afford to use it a little later. D-Mech onto Aquatic. Forces both the Sound Barrier and the Self-Destruct out here, but Paradox down again. This guy's just not having a good time at all. When Moving Rift win fights, it's because they get Paradox first, time and time again.
Yep, I mean, that's such a big chunk of the damage and also just so much healing out of that Brigida. That Inspire charge is just so much, and now they'll take this aggressive close hold out of them. And they already have, look at Rally's already basically up. They'll have Graviton Surge and Self-Destruct up. They are primed to continue to hold this and burn more time off the clock.
This is terrible to push through. Not only are you on the low ground, but you also don't have any space to get out of your spawn. They're grabbed in the spawn. Oh my goodness. Goose, it is Goose's grab, to be fair. But Moving Rift, this hurts my eyes. Whoever's trying to flashbang me, please knock it off on the observing side. It hurts my eyeballs. What am I watching right now? Goose has gone down. That's all I
It's just Valorant. It's just Valorant flashes, Tiny. That's all it is.
Even Goose is like, that's crazy. I agree with you, friend. That is absolutely bizarre.
I'm going to grab on the ceiling.
Oh my gosh. They're stuck on the top ropes. Nowhere to go. They can't even back up if they want to. Their spawn has been taken away from them. They're finally starting to get a couple of eliminations here, and they got to get these now because any progress, Moving Rift, they've essentially guaranteed themselves another shot at defending at the final point.
Yeah, this was actually the hugest play they could have made because now there's a long walk. The cart lost so much time and space, and they'll get one more fight before B. They'll be together as a full 6-2, and they burnt out so much of the Unemployed and Broke ultimate bank. They don't have anything ready. They'll have to get it as they're going. Moving Rift, meanwhile, all three support ultimates up. The longer this fight goes on, it only works for them, and they should find these picks quickly right before B. It's probably going to be last fight here, Tiny.
It likely is. This one goes long and expecting it to go. So that Earth Shatter was blocked. Big chance out the window. Unemployed and Broke, they're so close to several of these larger abilities, but they actually need to get those check marks to make them land, do the damage to do that final blows. Aquatic's going to be the first one to start. Both the sound barrier and the self-destruct used at the same time. So many heals, but the fact that they were used simultaneously is going to be bad in the long run.
Moving Rift.
As soon as they're down, there it goes. They used both the sound barrier and the transcendence there. Like, what else? What else could have been done? Unemployed and Broke, they took advantage of it, forced both of those abilities, and now they're fighting in a 2v3 battle, which is almost seemingly winnable here.
Moving
It's a
Fish?
Baby Diva.
Moving
They do have
Fish?
time? Try to Moving Fish, they did it!
Moving Fish?
No shot!
Moving Fish has saved the day. Absolutely incredible Diva micro plays, just knowing they had the extra life available. Bought the time, managed to get remech, and that bought the time for Chime to come back and do it. They'll push this back, and there's not going to be a touch, Tiny. The incredible decision-making of Moving Fish just absolutely saved the day and won them the point.
Wow, heroics out there. This is just it. Moving Rift, they deserve to win it just from that one play. Chime and Moving Fish did so much to keep this one in their way, and it's in the end, it was just a overall cohesion difference here. Unemployed and Broke, they tried something new. They gave it their best shot, but they just could not beat the team that is Moving Rift. I expected big things coming out of them, heading into this tournament, and I'm going to continue with that expectation moving into tomorrow.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think just from that play alone, yeah, Aquatic, my pride, yeah, that was a quite an experience to give through there, and I mean,
oh, yeah.
Like you said, they just an incredible show from this team, from Moving Rift. I mean, can we really expect anything less though? Like from them though, like that's such a high quality, high caliber of player. Like for them to not kind of make those great calls and those heads up moment to moment decisions, I think is almost like doing them a disservice in a lot of ways. So,
yeah.
I mean, just from even the initial points like this, you know, shouting out Abyss on that Zenyatta, who just absolutely perfectly timed all those trances. The team play from Moving Rift came out across the board, and I think look, my MVP is Moving Fish. Moving Fish put in so much additional work from that Diva position, which usually isn't like a carry spot, but
no.
Moving Fish absolutely put in so much extra work from that Diva.
And we talked about them at the beginning of this series too, because we're like, we know this guy. They've been around in so many different compositions and have made a name for themselves in their own right, just because of these insane plays like this. Coming out here on the Diva, able to have this much impact, just should not happen in a GOATS composition. Unemployed and Broke just had to let Moving Fish run away. Whatever the heck they wanted to do, it was their choice. It was totally Moving Rift in the driver's seat the entirety of King's Row. Anytime they lost a fight, it was because they didn't have the resources, because Unemployed and Broke held them for too long. They got stuck in their spawn. But the decision making, it was correct. This was such a huge map of GOATS and sets my expectations through the roof for any future gameplay we see from these guys.
Yeah, I think you've nailed it. These later rounds in the next couple days are going to be insane, and they are absolutely what you should come through. Unfortunately, we won't see Unemployed and Broke in those future rounds, so you know, hey, we'll see him in the next GOATS, and hopefully we'll catch him, you know, in some form in the future CGL events. But a great showing from them, and congratulations to Moving Rift. They'll go on, and like you said, I'm not going to be here. I won't be in the booth, but I'm going to be watching, because this day 2 of GOATS is going to be insane.
It's gonna be nuts, and you're gonna want to be there, everybody, so take some notes, because we got more GOATS starting with our EU tomorrow. I should have looked at the time before this, but this will be
it's 7
tomorrow.
British. 7
yes,
British.
7 BST. Yes, that sounds about right. 7 BST.
Yeah.
That is going to be the start of our EU matchups. Our NA start at 7 p.m. EST.
Yes.
So stay tuned for those. You'll get to see teams like Moving Rift continue their competition through a set playoff bracket now that our round robin will be wrapping up here tonight. Since these ones have already gone late, we're going to go ahead and end it here. I'm glad you guys got your dose of GOATS for the evening, and I hope you're not full yet, because we got so much more coming up through the next 3 days. So don't go anywhere. Make sure you guys are following both the CGL 1 and CGL 2 Twitch channels, because we'll have gameplay on both ends for both the console and the PC side. Make sure to give them a follow. Stay updated on all of the future programs coming over the next couple days. I've had so much fun here today. It's been a while since I've seen GOATS. Actually, one of the first times I'm casting GOATS. It's a good time.
It's always just a fun. This is always just so chaotic and really, I think, shows a lot of the intricacies of the Overwatch team play in the community. It's such a great thing to be a part of. But make sure you come back and be a part of it tomorrow. And hey, we'll see you there when we're back for more.
Sure will. Have a good night, everybody.